Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Getting to Know the 570. As you can see, here we are. We're in the studio. We're shooting another one with video. Last was with David Parmalee down at the Little Theater. And we thought, well, what the hell? Let's have another one with video since today's guest, I'm sure you guys have seen him already. He's been flying around social media. Recently, we're very excited about the collaboration and partnership where Brian is now filming his episodes here at the ConversionWorx Studio. And so we were very excited to get him on this episode. And you may be coming to this episode by way of learning, because Brian actually interviewed me on his podcast, and that'll be airing before this airs. So there'll be some continuation of the conversation that we started over there. So if you're just seeing this and you haven't seen that episode, get on over there, watch that episode, and then make your way back to this one. But with that said, Brian DiMattia from DiMattia's Food Fight. You guys will have seen him all over social media. He's reviewing food. He's talking to restaurant owners, business owners. Awesome stuff. We've built out a really good friendship. Thanks for being here.
Frank, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I
man.
Appreciate that.
Congrats on everything. Things are going really good for you. And, yeah, the set's behind us.
It's
looks
fantastic.
awesome.
I love it.
Yeah?
I love it.
You getting good feedback?
Yeah, people love the set. The colors. Russ Rinaldi was guest number one. And well, episode 47, but guest number one on the new set. And he was honored for that. That was great. And I got to share that with someone from my hometown, from Old Forge. And when I showed him the videos, he goes, the colors, the red and like the yellow from the lights and all that kind of stuff. It just goes fantastic. You get that brick background that's not in my kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You guys are like, bring your background. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, no. I think we made it work.
Anybody that wants a 4x8 brick wall with wood and brick on there is on my back porch. I will be posting a picture of it. Please come pick it up. If not, it's going in a dumpster.
I'd rather a little memorabilia, maybe.
Yeah. I got nowhere to store it. The basement of my apartment building is completely empty. It's super clean. They won't let me put anything down there.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm not even gonna bother trying. So it's got to go somewhere. It's on my back porch. You guys want it?
Maybe bring it here. I don't know.
Who's going to I'm going to carry it on my back?
You know what we'll do? We have an artsy bathroom that if you saw, it's
I like that bathroom.
A menagerie of different kind of artwork.
Yeah.
Maybe we do is just slap the brick wall up there. It has no purpose, right? Brian's laughing. It's another thing to hang up. There you go. There you go.
I just need one person to help me carry it out to the front, and it's all yours.
Awesome.
It's all yours. You know what's funny, guys? I was incredibly early for this episode today compared to the last one. I never showed up.
You never showed up, man. Right? Yeah, that was our first encounter. I was like, this guy. I was like,
what did you guys honestly?
He's that much of a rock star.
What did you guys honestly think when I did not show up here at the studio? Initial thoughts.
Well, you're going to have to bleep that out.
That's fine.
No, I'm like, he's got it. He had to. I'm like, there's no way that he was scheduled and like willingly said, I'm not going.
Right. I would never, if I couldn't make it, you guys would have known about it.
I would guess, yeah.
And I'm so happy that I checked my phone because we start class. We have class at 5 for the kids down at Good Tree MMA, down in Wilkes-Barre. Another location up in Dunmore, PA. Get those guys on the 570 podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to have
talk
them.
about what they do for what we do for the area here up in Lackawanna and Luzerne County. But I got done with the kids class. Took my phone. It was just a couple minutes after 6, and I saw your message in your. I go, holy shit!
Yeah.
I go, I got that pit in my belly.
Yeah.
I couldn't apologize, and I was probably getting annoying. I was probably getting annoying with the. Because they're like, I'll apologize twice.
Yeah.
But 10 minutes later, I'm like, I gotta apologize again.
It's all good.
I couldn't even train really that night. I was just like, I felt like an asshole. Nah. You know what though? Look at the way it turned out.
I was gonna say, look where we are.
Look at the way it turned out.
Right?
You know,
we're working together over here. We've got awesome stuff, and I'm excited to dive into you. Right?
Yeah. Make sure I message your daughter Samantha to let her know that I was sorry about the mix-up. I felt bad about it.
It all worked out.
I feel bad all over again.
Yeah. No, it all worked out. And I'm excited about everything that we've got going on, and I want to dive in. I want to be able to share with our audience those who don't know you yet, that's the point of this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it. For anybody who hasn't heard of DiMattia's food fight, like letter rep, tell us what it is. We'll dive into the past. Yeah, what is it right now? I tune in. What am I seeing? What is it?
Right now, if you tune into the food fight, DiMattia's food fight on Facebook and TikTok, you're going to see local restaurants wherever I am. It's not just centered around NEPA. Obviously, a majority of those reviews, and I'm more of a food blogger than a reviewer, but I mean, you really can't call me. I mean, I get where it's coming from because I review food, but like a good example of that, Frank, is, and Brian was here for it earlier, when Jim was here, we reviewed
upcoming episode, Jim
Mirabelli. So part 2. And
anybody who doesn't know, by some chance, NEPA pizza review.
So what I'm getting at is when we're eating the pizza, I go, Jim, you're going to give the official pizza review, and I'm the guy that says this is good or not. Because Jim's getting into the hydration of the dough.
Oh,
it's amazing. What kind of cheese? Why the crust, how even the crust was. And talking about how Angelo Recchi, he went his old place up in Angelo's in the Viewmont Mall, he had a different stove, a different oven, and now he's got a different oven down here at Luca in West Pittston. Like, what's making that different for him? And it's just like, that's a fucking food review. Mm-hmm. Me sitting in my car and saying, man, this cheese, this sauce, I've been eating this pizza for 20 years. It's fantastic. That's is that a review?
Yeah, but you said it, right? And I think this is important that the viewers, listeners, people who tune in, I think it's important that they know this about you. You won't share something. You're not going to leave a bad review.
I'm not going to tell you that this pizza or this food sucks.
Yeah, but you just won't air it.
I won't air it.
Which I respect that,
mm-hmm.
Because I think that with that, it's your mission with what you do. You said it very specifically. You're like, I just want to be able to support my local restaurants, restaurants in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked. I mean, like you were just down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You were reviewing food. You're gonna showcase wherever you go. These are people who work behind the scenes and work hard. This is not an easy business.
It's not.
You have a history. We're going to dive into understanding, because you speak from first person experience in that respect. But I thought that's pretty admirable. And it's not dishonest.
It's not dishonest.
Right? Because you like you said, you're like, there's things that I've recorded, they'll never hit the light of day.
Taste is objective. Okay? What I don't like doesn't mean you're not going to like, right? You got potato chips. So first of all, let me compliment the snack room, the break room over here at ConversionWorx.
All right.
Top tier.
All right.
5 stars.
1 punch, 2 punch knockout?
Oh, it's a 1 punch knockout. It's a
nice.
So I'm fooling around with the stars now. I'm fooling around with the fucking white belts or blue belt level, which makes actually grading food on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu belt levels. It's actually a great scoring system. The problem is people don't know. It's not as
they don't understand.
They don't understand the ranking. No, they understand karate like brown belt, black belt. You hear black belt, people know, oh, it's a black belt.
Yeah.
So like, it would be like a black belt level room over there. But like the 1-2 punch knockout, I'm fooling around a little bit.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm fooling around. I'm fooling around a little bit.
Because, well, to your point though, you said jiu-jitsu is not just about
there's no punches
punching,
in jiu-jitsu
right?
either. There's no punching in jiu-jitsu.
You could be a striker in MMA.
We teach Muay Thai. I'm trained in Muay Thai as well.
So there you have it. So there is striking.
There's definitely ways to change it a little bit and get into
here's the thing,
scoring
right?
system.
I don't look at your logo and think that's you're submitting somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That indicates knockout.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So I'm just saying, I don't know.
It's a work in progress. I took your advice that day when we met.
If I heard a little, if I saw something like you were eating a hot dog or whatever, and then I heard, that's a 2-punch knockout.
I need that fucking noise for my reviews.
Right? If I heard, I'll make the sound effects.
I like that. You guys have that for my ads now. I love that. Love that.
But I'm just saying, like, I think that if I got, it was like, that's either a 1-punch or a 2-punch knockout. It makes it so simple. It's so relevant. I don't know, man.
So we'll touch on that. So 1-punch knockout would be like this, change nothing for this. 2-punch knockout could be like
a little room for
little more.
improvement.
And
then
I think my listeners and my followers, that could change. That could take it to a little bit of a different little bit of a level, you know. And I understand that business owners, they want some positive feedback, but that could turn into something else, though. And I'm nervous to make the transition, but I'm open to doing it as well.
And here, I'll throw this out. I'll say this to you, right? We all know the whole Dave Portnoy train, right? The guy, his whole thing is the one bite, right? He never takes one bite.
Oh, he eats the whole fucking thing.
Right? Yeah, but he's not even deciding on one bite. I mean, he made his own rule that he breaks constantly, right? I think what's interesting is that you're not limiting yourself to one bite, but what you're saying is on a scoring level, right? You think about what that is in a match, right? If a striker, a boxer, or somebody who's in mixed martial arts, right? They throw it a punch. It's either lights out or you got a wobbler that needs you got to go back for a little bit more, right? So I think that when you make that relative to food, it's why did I have to go back for a second? It's really good. I want it to go in for a second, right? But I say it's a 2-punch just because. I mean, again, this is your thing, right? But I would find that fun because I'd always be looking for like is it a 1-punch or a 2-punch? And whatever you hold up, that's what we get to see.
You're a good seller, Frank.
That's true. I am. Anyway, so listen. So I want to dive in a little bit more. So
real quick real fast with the scoring, real fast. People are like, you give everything 5 stars. Everything 5 stars. I've explained it more than once on the page. 5 stars means it's good. I recommend you eating it. There's nothing that I'm going to give. You're right. You made a point like, hey, maybe people are looking for a 3-star or 4-star review. I was just like the home of this 5-star review. If your food is good, I give it 5 stars.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying, though, too. I hear you're not the only one that has brought up to me about different scoring. I don't score pizza no more. No more 7.7s or what the fuck do I know what a fucking 10 or there's so many pizzas that are 10 to me because I just love pizza. That's why it's just good for me to say it's good.
Have you ever had a 10 though? Because
that guy with when Joe was making pizza, that guy with the dough.
Oh man,
yes,
I forgot about that.
9.9.
Is he not? He's not around anymore.
No. He sold it to 2 other people. He's a part owner of it. He got a job at the post office.
You know what he was? He was always that guy with the dough.
The guy with the dresses too.
But the guy with the dough. This is back when I was eating pizza
in 315, right?
But he was up here at the Sunshine Building, right. And he always used the semolina on the dough on the bottom.
Sourdough because he was sourdough pizza.
Oh, it was so
His crust was sourdough.
It always cracked. Oof.
So
and then he moved up to like music or something,
so
right?
That was my spot. I lived around the block. And
okay.
It's my favorite New York style pizza. 9.9 I gave it when I scored it once. I'm like, anyone I want to beat this, you beat it, right? But there's more that goes into that score. It's not just a pizza.
Sauce, cheese.
No, it's Joe. It's Joe himself.
Oh, okay.
It's the care he puts into the pizza.
Yeah.
When I would walk in there, him and his wife, Franny be yelling at somebody else, and she'd be talking nice to me because I'm not in their disrespect. That didn't matter. Sometimes you walk in there, you just get yelled. but it was the atmosphere. It was me walking in there and Joe bringing me back to try some different Old Force pizza or just a bullshit with him. So that adds to the flavor for me. Just like Angelo's and Dino's and that family, like the Recchi family, it adds to it. Old Force pizza is nostalgia to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
to take you back to being a kid.
Yeah, it adds to it. It adds to it. So there's more than just the flavor of the food that will go into that. But I don't want to be a food scorer. I don't want to be a pizza scorer. That's not my thing. Other people do that. I don't know how to score. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's objective. And then people focus on that and they get obsessed with it and they're in my DMs about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it is a sensitive subject in respect of, especially when you're hitting like these regional places that have been around forever.
Yeah.
Because they'll forever be the argument about like what's the best Old Forge pizza, what's the best pizza in NEPA, right? Detroit Pizza is making its like aggressive presence right now.
We touched on that in our latest Food episode with Jim Maribelli.
Yeah.
He got into about a little bit of why it kind of stalled out a little bit, because people want more value for what they're paying for. And a little Detroit pizza with four cuts, 4 cuts is almost the same price as a tray of Old Forge pizza with 12 cuts. And people see that as a different value and they don't get as invested into it.
You know what I thought was interesting was I just watched this video. I forget it's one of these YouTube channels that I always obsess over hearing about, like the stories of businesses building. And I don't know if it was like how they make it or something. I forget what it is. But the story was about this one guy who he's like an occupational therapist or whatever. He still has a full-time job, but he has a restaurant that only makes Detroit-style pizzas. It's a one-man shop, and every single day it's called Edge.
I saw that.
And every single day he does 150 pies.
That's it. No more.
And then it's it until he sells out. You've seen it, Brian?
Yeah. I've seen it.
I thought that's amazing.
He was going to try to like open 2, but he's like, I can't.
Yeah, he said, I can't get another person to be me.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, that right there, that's like, that's passion.
Probably makes $3,000 a day doing that. $20 a pop, maybe.
Yeah, I mean he's got overhead, right?
Sure.
But he's he's probably doing all right. Plus he has his full-time job. But but he's doing all the work himself, right? And I loved how like in the story of it, he was talking about how I'm always prepped for 2 days in advance because he has to let the dough aerate, and then
the pizzas are beautiful too.
Oh my God,
Like
the black pans with the
fucking cheese on the side and shit like that. Forget about it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could almost get you off your carnivore diet.
No,
almost.
you're not getting me off.
No, I said almost.
Yeah.
I said almost.
Pizza Hut tried to sue him because he was using the name The Edge. Remember Pizza Hut had the Edge pizza? Like
Remember that.
Oh yeah.
Back in the 90s.
They definitely trademarked that, right?
Fuck you. And Pizza Hut was like, well, okay, but you can never take this any further than like where you're at.
Oh wow.
I don't want to.
Wow.
I just want to run this.
Interesting. No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that part of it.
Okay, you can have it, guy who makes.
So Pizza Hut probably trademarked the Edge specific to pizza.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Yeah. Pizza Hut, do better. What's funny is Pizza Hut's where it got me my start doing my food page.
Oh yeah?
That's where the origins of Food Fight began.
So
when you're ready for that, you let me know.
Yeah, well, so here's the deal. So right now, right, there's a mixed batch of content that's going out from you. You're either out in the field doing shorter version videos, right? And this is you out in the field. I just saw you at Majestic Lunch having hot dogs. You were in Florida on a vacation, and you were going through Epcot.
Yeah, we're doing Epcot Center. I still have a lot of reviews to post. Yeah.
I mean, I love it, right? And so that's fun in the sense that if we tune into you on social media, that's what we're seeing there. But in addition, then you have your longer form interviews, right? So just like we're here getting to know the 570, we're doing interviews. You meet with people. Earlier today, you had Jim Maribelli in, you had Rinaldi in. Originally, I came on as a guest, and you've been doing this for some time. How many episodes are you in?
We recorded number 50 today.
Number 50?
Number 50. Jim Maribelli was number 1 and number 50.
Ah, man, that's awesome. Congrats, because that's hard to get.
Yeah.
I could tell you that is a big accomplishment. It was really, in the beginning, we weren't sure when we started this. It was how many, like, what are we going to do, right? And I remember Brian will tell you, I said, put our blinders on and get to 100, right? I don't care. We're just going to get to 100, and then we're going to determine, is this worth it? Is it, right? And this has been incredible for us. I love the relationships that we've built, the networking that this has helped us with, and I love being able to tell people's stories, right? I mean, like, You're doing something incredible in the area. You have a passion for what you're doing. It's attached to a much bigger story. That's what I love unfolding, because we see you. We look at you on doing, out to lunch at Majestic, talking about a hot dog. But what's behind that, right? And like what drives you to do what you're doing? The other side of you mentioned you're doing MMA training, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai.
Instructor as well.
Yeah, and so that's a big part of who you are today. And that's what I want to start kind of peeling back the layers, right? But to first sort of wrap up what we're talking about here, what we can expect from you is seeing these short form videos, and then from a podcast more video version, because it's available on audio and it's available on video. But we tune in. What is your approach? I'd rather you tell them, what is your approach towards your interviews?
So my interviews for the Food Fight podcast,
yeah,
specifically talking about.
Yep.
So whether it's a restaurant owner, social media foodie, like Jim Maribelli, then you have Russell Rinaldi, who is a restaurant owner, but also an old friend. We grew up in the same town together, and we share a recovery story. We both fought for our lives to get our lives to where they are now.
From addiction.
Yep. Russ is very successful in business with his family in town, right? I had to fight for that too. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be successful in my own head. I don't need parades. I don't need anybody. I don't need any of this. I want to do what I want to do. And whether it comes out of that is what we're looking at now. It's my way to give back to the restaurant community that I worked in for almost 25 years. And I got burned out by it. People get burned out by things. But I wasn't burned out of the idea of it and supporting it still. Does that make sense?
No, it does, man.
Is that what you're asking? I want to make sure I'm answering your question right.
Yeah, because there's an approach you take to your interview. I could speak firsthand now as being one of your guests on the other end of this, right?
Yeah.
And I could say that you found relevance in wanting to interview with me because, and for our viewers and listeners, they'll know I've been on this health journey, right? Mm-hmm. I've lost 150 pounds now over the past 15 months on Carnivore Diet. When we talked about that, you're like, man, that's your fight. And I mentioned to you about my relationship with food and how it was jamming me up and the position I found myself in. So it wasn't just about being in the food business, right? In some way, my story connected with you because you battled alcohol and drug addiction, right?
Overeating as well.
And okay.
Of course, yeah.
And I want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But there was a connection there that you said, boy, I'd love to tell your story, right? And hear your business story, because I'm a guy who I wasn't handed a business, mm-hmm. right? And so you're like, that's the grind, that's the build, right? Like, let's tell that story, and that's what I love doing on this podcast. But what we were able to do was sort of bring in the relevant component of my personal story and being able to expand and talk about most recently my venture with Carnivore Diet and lifestyle.
Your literal food fight.
Yeah, man. And that's what I thought was cool, is because and I think you started to open up the doors a little bit more to thinking, like, because it seemed like there was something that went off in you when we were talking. You were like, man, I could expand a little bit more, because there's a lot of people who have been through a big nutritional journey, mm-hmm. It's a big part of their life. Like, you've got people in this area who, had issues with either food addiction or what have you, right? Drugs, alcohol, some mm-hmm. kind of thing. But at the core of it, like, you're working in a gym environment, and nutrition is a part of your discussion.
It is. And a lot of people comment on me. But a lot of people I see for the first time, I'm getting recognized more and more in public, which is nice, which is cool. I don't get like too upbeaty about it, but like, hey, food fight.
Yeah, that's fun.
Like the guy beeping the horn at Majestic when I was like, hey, it's 31 fucking degrees out here, The guy beeped the horn. say food fight. I said food fight. He messages me an hour later. Hey, that was me that beeped the horn.
Yeah.
So that's cool, stuff like that, right? But a lot of things people ask me is they'll give me a pat in the back or a pat in the belly, which don't pat my fucking belly. But
pat your belly?
like, oh, he goes, how you eat all that food and still look like this? It's a compliment, but please, don't touch me and in public. Anyways, it's like I'm trained to grab your arm and arm drag you and take your back.
That's funny.
But honestly, that doesn't bother me. It's cool. You know,
Brian,
what I mean?
nobody's pat me on the belly, buddy. Yeah,
But
I don't know.
what they ask me is, how do you eat so much food and stay so skinny? I say the first thing I say, one, I'm not skinny. It's called muscle. Two, that's another answer to the question. I lift weights. I train a lot. I watch what I eat. People don't want to see pictures of my broccoli and chicken and my grind meat or my 8 ounces of ground beef or my 4 eggs.
Yeah.
They don't want to see pictures of that.
Right.
They don't want to see that. None of my don't get me wrong. I posted pictures like that before, like I food prepping and like that, and people see it. But if I post
Certain people do, bro.
yeah, I know,
but not the public.
Yeah, but if
not,
I post,
not most.
if I post a picture of a cheesesteak or a picture of a salad,
Sure.
cheesesteak's going to do a lot better. You know what I mean? But you mentioned to me when we first sat down about people don't know that about me. People think I'm fast metabolism or whatever. Well, clearly, I watch what I eat.
Yeah.
I don't just eat pizza and hot dogs every day. What I do is I practice certain practices that I've learned to be with me. I'm a former or, maybe in recession, a binge eater. I could eat for an hour straight. If I get in the mood,
Yeah.
every once in a while, that's why I don't buy certain foods from my house anymore. But when I got sober, we get into that a little bit later, but when I got sober, I turned to food for an outlet because I said to myself, if I just eat now, I won't want to do the drugs I used to do. I was a pill guy, different kind of pills, right? But if I had an empty stomach, the pills work. Full stomach, it's a waste. I'm not going to get that buzz I'm looking for, so I would wait hours to take the pills during my addiction. Only eat one time, right? When I got sober, I was just hanging on. It was the roughest summer of my life when I got sober. It was very hard to try to get my life to feeling normal again, going to AA meetings and just going back home. I wasn't working. I was just trying to get my life back together. So Burger King, I could eat a whole box of pasta and maybe a can of stew. They make those stew in the cans,
Yeah.
nasty shit, I'd make a whole.
Cold, right?
I could eat
Would
it
you
cold.
eat it cold?
No,
I used to eat them
I
cold.
could eat it cold. I could eat raviolis out of the can cold.
I used to do it all the time.
Luckily, I don't live that life anymore.
Yeah.
All right. We did Foodie PA, Food of Pennsylvania on the Food Fight podcast, and we got into SpaghettiOs because they're Pennsylvania made, other stuff like that. Weren't horrible, but there's still can of SpaghettiOs in my. I haven't binged on those yet, But it got to the point where I forgot what I was talking about. I had a mind blank again.
No, you're talking about how you used to eat.
Yes. So I would eat a box. I would make a whole box of rigatoni pasta, 1,000 calories, or 1,400 calories, or 7 servings, 200 calories a piece, right? Can of that stew, and I would eat the whole thing in front of the TV upstairs in my room. And I'm full already, but I just kept going. I didn't care. Then I go to bed.
Well, you know why, right?
I was just.
Because of what you were eating.
I know.
That's what people don't
I wasn't
realize
filling
today.
up. I wasn't right. So we'll flip that real fast. Last night, my dinner was I got home from practice. I had about 8 or 9 ounces of chicken thighs. I fried them up on the frying pan, put some buffalo sauce on there, a whole avocado, and I had some rice with it. That was my dinner last night. So 56 grams of protein, probably about 20 grams of fiber, and avocado fiber is the best fiber in my opinion. All the fat and the fiber in there, and then a little bit of rice because I like a little bit of rice with my chicken. Not too much, maybe a half a serving of rice. I don't eat too many carbs after I practice. My carbs are earlier in the day for my practice. However, I could perform pretty well in jiu-jitsu on an all-meat diet. I've done it before, but it's getting a little warmer outside, a little more sweat going on in there, a little more harder training. So sometimes I need those carbohydrates, but I'm not against carbohydrates, but they get in the way of my protein.
Well, that's exactly right.
They get in the way of my protein.
Yeah, and I know. I think as we go on with this, we'll get back to the quote unquote little bit of a debate that you wanted to have with
we didn't get
me.
a chance last time to do it. I had to get to work. And,
But it's about your story and about what got you to where you are and why you're doing what you're doing. So it's interesting because behind the scenes, they don't realize that we see the guy who's hoofing down a hot dog, or you're eating pizza, or you're doing whatever, right? And it's not, that's not ideal for somebody to if that's all they ate for all their meals.
Yeah.
So behind the scenes, right? Brian doesn't have the super metabolism.
I don't. I'm
right?
43 years old.
Normal guy, 43 years old, but you're training in the gym, right? You said, are you a nutritionist or like?
I'm a personal trainer, and I consider myself. I'm actually studying to be a certified nutritionist. Now I have to recertify, so I have to finish that training. I'm in the middle of doing that. Well, I'm lying about that. I'm in the beginning of it. I opened up the stuff I have for it.
Oh, all right.
So I have to start. So I got to finish.
So you're headed down that road.
I'm headed down that road, but I'm in my own head. I'm not a nutritionist, but I can tell you what to eat and what not to eat.
Yeah,
I could give you the basics. And people overcomplicate it. People overcomplicate losing weight. They think they have to do. You have to find what works for you.
Well, I think you gotta learn.
100%. People are very uneducated. They think, honest to God, I went to my family doctor years ago, and after I lost a bunch of weight, so from my eating addiction after I got sober, I put on 100 pounds. I went into rehab 170 like a feather. You could push me over. To a summer, I got to 270. Remember I told you I went to
That's hard to imagine you at 270.
Bro.
It's hard to imagine.
I wouldn't fit in this chair, and my weight goes in my thighs and my belly, right?
Well, I think that's a lot of people.
Yeah. So I have big legs. I have big legs naturally, which is a gift from the gods. You get big legs, and I remember I touched on it briefly. You said you want to talk about it today. I went to me, my mother, and my niece. I'm in the back seat of the car. August. I'm getting ready to hand my driver's license in for September when I got in trouble. So I'm losing my license soon. And I already lost. It doesn't matter. And I remember I went there to get a pair of like cargo shorts or whatever it was, and I couldn't fit a pair of 42s over my legs. And I walked out. I sat in the back of my mother's Jeep and I cried. And that night I went to an AA meeting, and kid was selling a bike. I bought the bike off of him. I rode that bike to the gym every day until I lost all that weight, until I got my license back. That was my second rock bottom. My first rock bottom is when I got in trouble for the drugs I was doing when I got arrested. The second rock bottom was my physical self. My back was bothering, my sciatic nerve was bothering me. I was sleeping all the time. I was miserable. I'm at work at the casino dealing cards, working night shift, and every hour we get a break, and there's just food in the dining room every single time you go out. You go back there. There's tons of food every time, and I would eat every hour, Frank. And I would call for my colors for probation to go for a drug test in the morning at 5 a.m., smoking cigarettes, call the number. They don't say my number. They don't say my color, which was pink. They didn't say my color, so now I'm awake. I'm like, fuck it. I go make some food. I would eat 1,000 calories and go back to bed, and I get up and eat breakfast. So I put the weight on fast. And I was extremely uncomfortable, self-conscious. My confidence was down. Nothing was, but I was still sober though.
Yeah.
That was the fight. That was the fight I was having with myself. I can't go back to the drugs. I need to go, but I'll eat the food though. Then I'll work on that once though. So what happened was the overwhelming feeling of not knowing how to live my life sober. That was my fear, going back to that life. I didn't want to do that. And every day I had to get every single day. I had to fight for that. It wasn't like, okay, I'll be sober the next 3 days. I'll be fine. I'll worry about it Thursday. No, I had to wake up worrying about it. So the stress levels were up. But I did not want to go back to that life. I wasn't going to upset my mother or my family or my friends that were helping me, right? Or the court system that was helping me, right? I was lucky enough to be on treatment court. I was working my way towards my expungement and my charges being dismissed. The last thing I wanted to do was go back to that life. But AA was working. Things that I wasn't working yet. was still doing outpatient treatment. So food was my comfort. Food became my new addiction. But I knew I couldn't immediately die from me overeating, you know? But then the overwhelming feeling of the addiction started to getting lower and lower and lower. I started getting more comfortable every day watching TV and going for walks and hanging out with my friends. So I went from being uncomfortable because of my drug addiction to being uncomfortable because of my food addiction. You see how that went?
Sure.
So
you traded one for the other.
Which most addicts usually do.
Yeah.
Right? So when the addiction went down and the food addiction went up, now it was time. Now I needed to hit rock bottom for that. And that's what happened that day in the Jeep in my mother's car.
So take me back to the beginning, right? So that, because I want to kind of walk through, I think there's, and I've shared this with you, that on the other side of this, on the ConversionWorx side, for years we've worked in the addiction treatment space. And I, years ago, my opinion of that particular space was very skewed.
What year was this?
Ooh, boy. Well, probably, I would tell you that throughout most of my childhood up into my 20s, I would tell you that for sure, I thought that rehab was a joke, right? I'm like, well, I don't have that problem. Like, how can I have a drink and I don't have any issues? And I certainly didn't like the way I felt on drugs. So I was like, there's, these are just people making piss poor decisions. They have terrible willpower. But fast forward, and a part of my exposure to it was being what we do on the other side of this, right? Marketing, media, all that. We were asked by our first client in that space at the time, which way back when was Clearbrook. And so we came to the table and discussed what we were discussing there, and we tried to learn the business, and there was a lot of fundamental things that we were able to do, but I really needed to wrap my head around that business. And so I sat through endless these meetings that they had in their facility where people were there telling their life stories, and just some of the most impactful stories. And I always shout out to a guy, Dick Conaboy. That guy's story hit home for me like big time. Not that not that it related to me, but I sat there and was like, whoa, that story with his family, his son, like his story, like it just, the whole thing was just so powerful that I started to wake up a little bit, and I was like, all right, I'm really shallow-minded if I'm thinking that. It's because there's forever this argument of, is it a choice or is it disease, and it's a controversial topic, because if you field that as a question, you're going to get 50-50 response on that. I think what I've come to terms with today is that inevitably you make a choice, right? But the unfortunate reality is that the genetic predisposition that you have, right, whether that was based on your exposure to a trauma, or if it was an actual genetic predisposition, which has been proven that children of addicts are very highly likely to become an addict themselves. Or again, if it's dual diagnosis, if it's, which is becoming a lot more predominant today in that space, where they used to just treat addiction as addiction. Somebody would say that it was mental illness, behavioral health, but it was very much so treated specifically. Today, they're integrating the two to really do a lot more dual diagnosis type treatment. But when I was first learning all about this space, I was really shallow on it. And so to have this understanding of where it's at today, I appreciate having somebody talk through and tell their story, because the thing that got me to respect it for what it is was these stories, and also the idea that, I listened to this guy tell a story who he had, I don't know, it was a lot of money in real estate, commercial real estate, and he was a developer. And when he was telling his story, he had the world by the balls.
And the drugs had him by the balls.
And well, it was alcohol at first. And so when he tells the story about his drinking, and then he talks about everything that he lost as a result of this. I mean, here's a guy, literally, I mean, he was like on top of his game. So I find that very hard to believe that you would go to somebody in that position and say, hey, here's a quick fast forward view of what your life's going to look like in 2 or 3 years from now. You're going to lose all of this. All you got to do is just right now, don't pick up that bottle. But here's a real view. I'll put you in a time capsule, fly you forward 3 years. You're going to be allowed to see yourself, a little, Scrooge event, if you will, right? That guy's, he's not going to pick up that bottle. He's going to get a real look at himself in the future. I think that if he sees that, if that was possible, a real look, I'm saying that you don't choose that life. That's my point. You make a choice, I think, in the beginning, but that choice unfolds really fast into becoming the disease. And that's what I've come to appreciate and understand. And I look at addiction and I say that unfortunately somebody ends up in that life. Yes, they made the decision to have a drink, but they didn't sign up when they had that first drink, or they were taking a prescription pill, right? They didn't take that saying, yeah, my whole life's going to go to shit now, right? We always have that warning. Like we know that whole, like, hey, this is your life. This is your life on drugs, the scrambled egg thing that we saw as kids. Yeah. Right. We all remember that. And the old, hey, drugs are bad. Okay. Right. Like, we all know that. Nobody's going to consciously sit here and say to you, no, drugs are fine. Right. Like, everybody knows. I don't care who you are, even if you're in the depth of your addiction, drugs are bad. Most people who are in their addiction know that it's destroying them, but they say, I got this. No, I could quit anytime I want, right? But that's the act of addiction. So it's kind of crazy. So what I'm curious about with you is, because I've had a lot of conversations with people who have had addiction, had issues with addiction in their life, have gotten into recovery. I've heard probably over 1,000 recovery stories at this point. People I've interviewed that work in the space, some of the most mind-boggling. Brian will tell you that there was a story we had. There was a woman who came in. This one shook us because we didn't think she was going to tell her story. We knew briefly about what it was, but there was a nonprofit from the Poconos called Northbound, and one of their recipients, person who benefited from that organization, came in to tell us a story. And Brian, she talked about, I mean, it can make you sick when you hear about it, but she literally was a prisoner of her boyfriend, who was the drug dealer, and she was imprisoned in this apartment, and she was used as basically a sex toy for everybody who would come in to get drugs, and he would make her have sex with them. She was raped endless times, and she was forced to do the drugs so that she was with them, and it was less, she wouldn't scream and all that.
I can't even listen to it anymore.
It was so bad, dude. But she shared her story, right? And I thought how incredibly courageous it was for her to do that. And she herself had to go, and she had to get treatment, obviously, for trauma, but but for her addiction, because she was fed cocaine, pills, heroin. She was given all of that on a regular basis just to keep her basically in like a comatose state on a regular.
Jesus Christ.
Like you hear those stories and then you say like that, nobody signed up for that, right? Like nobody said, hey, when she met that guy, she didn't sign up for that and say, oh, well, here's what it is. She probably knew that he was an asshole and that he was living a shitty style life, but
it wasn't going to escalate
that
to that.
progress.
Yeah, no one thinks of that shit.
So when we talk through these stories, that's the part that I think where for the average person who's not quite connected with what addiction is, for the person who maybe is still of the mindset of where I was, where I'm like, buddy, you're just, you're just fucking up. Like you got to get control of that. Like, you're just being a loser. Like that's the simpleton's mindset. So if I go back to your story, right? Take me down the path. Like where did that start for you and how did it spiral out of control?
You made some good points that I'm going to disagree with a lot of them.
Please do.
Yeah, because I don't believe in the disease concept. I believe that the choice that we make in the beginning, we just keep on making that choice over and over and over again. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. We'll go back. I'll circle back to that thought.
I'm going to put a pin in that.
Yeah, put a pin
and then
in
we'll
that.
come back to
the choices that we make in the beginning when we're innocent. Oh, what's that, cocaine? That looks pretty good. I see it in the movie theaters. They see it in the movies. It looks like it's fun. No problem, right?
Yeah, it's sensationalized.
And you make the choice again and again and again because you like it. All right. So that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
The choices to do it keep getting easier because you want to do it. That's how I was. I wanted to do it. So I believe in when I was younger, I go back to a little bit of being obsessive, right? What's funny is I used to believe that I was born obsessive compulsive. My buddy Dylan, I was in Florida with him, and he was talking to me a lot. He went and saw this psychologist, hypnotherapist, paid a bunch of money, and it changed his life. And some of the things he said to me, I can't think of the guy's name. I wish I could for this conversation. Fascinating story he told me. He goes, oh, I don't like mayo. I'm like, I don't like mayo. He goes, I was born that way. He goes, you weren't born not liking mayonnaise. Somewhere in your life, somebody told you don't like mayo. I use that as an example because my mother kept me away from mayo for like, oh, you won't like that. You won't like that. So I grew up thinking I didn't like mayo. Then I finally had tuna salad, and I was like, couldn't get enough of it. I was like, all these years missed out, right? I was preconditioned by my mother to not like tuna, to not like mayonnaise, right?
Interesting.
When I was younger, me and my father used to collect things, NASCARs, Xbox cars, right?
Okay.
So I get obsessed with them. I want them all. I was a finisher. Like when we come to collections, you collect things,
man.
you're called like a finisher.
I'm guilty.
You got to have them all, right? And then when you have them all, that game is over.
Yep.
Then if you get rid of one, you're like, fuck it, I got to get rid of all of them. I was like that way with wrestling figures, which actually turned out to be really, what's a successful eBay business? We get to that later on, but I pissed all that away with my addiction, right? So I knew as a younger person, as a kid, things that I really got into, really got into, right? Was that my mind being obsessive? Or was just me wanting everything? I really don't know. I was too young to realize that, right? Carried it on into when I got older and I smoked a cigarette, took from my father's cool pack, and we smoked a cigarette behind the Insalacos in 04, me and my friends, right? I didn't start smoking cigarettes officially until years later after that when I got introduced to more drugs. We would steal booze from the liquor cabinets back in the day. We go camping, do 4 shots in a row thinking we're not drunk enough. Next thing you know, we're dying sick, throwing up, you know what I mean? Stupid. We go do it again, right? So alcohol was never really my thing. I had years of that. So I was introduced to drugs and alcohol at a younger age, but didn't, what do they say? The allergy wasn't set off yet. Don't like that either. The allergy in my mind.
You didn't have addiction in like your family?
Not that I can recall of.
That you were exposed to.
Right, that I was exposed to. When I got older, My brother had his battles, you know what I mean? But he was never a full-blown addict or anything either. He would smoke pot and stuff like that, but he wasn't. My father, not either. My mother. No one I can remember in my family, because obviously when I became a drug addict and got in trouble and all that kind of stuff, someone in my family would have, oh, you're just like Uncle Bill. Or like, no one has never been told, right?
Gotcha.
So, you know, I don't know so much on my father's side, but like, that was never brought up, right?
Okay.
So, you know, as I'm growing up, and then, you know, when I failed my freshman year at high school, that's when I started hanging out with different people because all my friends went 1 year ahead of me. I played football, then I went, after the football season was over, my freshman year.
04s, right?
04's Blue Devils, yeah. So I played my freshman year again in the varsity team, and then after football season was over, my buddy in class, he goes, hey, you want to go to lunch? I'm like, yeah, we'll go to lunch together, and we smoked a joint in the back of Dunkin' Donuts there in 04. And I was like, oh, it's pretty good. Then I did it again. Now I'm like, oh, I like this. I want to keep doing this. I like the way it makes me feel. I don't like being in school. I want to keep smoking pot. So I became a pothead. Then I fucked up my football career. So the choices.
You get kicked off the team?
No, I just quit. I couldn't play my senior year because I failed my freshman year. So PIAA wouldn't give me another year of eligibility. So I knew going into my 10th grade year of high school was my junior year of eligibility for football.
It was your last year.
But I couldn't play my senior year. So it was kind of like, I didn't think about the present. I thought about what if, right? So I spent the whole summer smoking pot and not getting the condition. I was a good football player, but I went to practice and I was dying.
Were you working?
I always worked.
Yeah.
I always had a job.
How young were you when you started working?
I started working. I had a paper route when I was in 6th grade. Then I worked at Cook's Meat in Old Forge as the cleanup crew for like 2 hours a day after work with me and my buddy John Bartel. We cleaned Cook's Meat. I'm not even sure they're even open anymore. But we'd be the cleanup crew. Yeah, I go clean this trays and all that kind of stuff. I always worked.
Spraying down the floor.
Spraying the floors, spraying the trays. And then I got a job when I was 15 at Marvelous Mugs.
Where did that come from, by the way?
Working?
Was that, your parents say, hey, you're getting to work? Or like?
No, I just wanted
more.
That
was you?
I wanted more stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to buy. I liked collecting stuff. So
you talked about that. So what were you collecting as a kid that made you want to go work so you had the money to buy that?
6th grade. Probably like toy cars, Matchbox cars.
And is that what you
would figures,
like?
Stuff like that.
Your parents would be like, "Hey, you want it? You're going to save up money for it."
No, my parents. We weren't rich by any means. We're like, I guess back in the 80s, 90s. I guess we were like, good middle class. My father was a mailman, and my mother worked her ass out. She was a waitress her whole life, most of her life. So
tough
it was
job.
good. Yeah, there was tough job. So there was my parents, maybe they had money problems, but me and my brother never really saw it. We also weren't greedy with our parents. Like I want $100 pair of sneakers back in the day. She's like, no. And the one time she bought them for me, I went to school and 6 other people had them. So I wasn't special anymore. I was like, what a waste of money. So I learned my lesson from that. Unnecessary. You don't need a $125 pair of shoes.
Right.
Now, those are probably basic shoes now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's going back to that's going back to like 95.
Sure,
how much money that was. Yeah. They were green and navy, right?
We're not too far apart in age, so I remember.
Yeah. So they were black with the neon thing on the bottom, right? So I was just like, I don't need this kind of stuff. But when I was younger, 6th grade, I remember watching the paper boy delivering papers, and I remember somebody saying that someone told my mother that a paper route was available, and if this happened to be the 4 blocks around my neighborhood in George Street in Old Forge. So my mother called the right people. They came to the house, and I became a paper boy. 6th grade.
That's cool.
Yeah. And my buddy Francis came on and be a partner. The weekends, delivering the weekend papers sucked. But we made good money. And I have all this money coming in. I'm 12 years old.
Yeah.
So
because it was based on how many houses you delivered to, right?
The tips were really great. They see the neighborhood kid giving it. You know what I mean? So I was making money doing that. I was able to buy what I want. My parents probably took a little bit of that money too for whatever reasons. You know what I mean? A young kid. But I always
parents are taking them big. Or what?
I always had means to my own money to buy my own stuff.
Okay.
And I kept jobs for a long time when I'm even into my adulthood. Don't get me wrong. There was some shitty jobs until I found out new long-term jobs.
Sure. Yeah.
But the idea of being self-responsible and having my own income, not having to ask my parents for money anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. I never thought about it, but yeah, that's pretty much what it was. And I worked at Cook's, and then I got a job at 15 at Marvelous Mugs and Music. Worked there for a decade. So was a bus boy. I got my driver's license. I got my own car. And my parents bought my first car for me. Then there was everything after that was my own.
Did you, because you talk about when you were in school playing football, and then you went off your path, and sports wasn't in the cards for you then because
Unfortunately, yeah. I just wanted to hang out, party, and smoke pot.
Right. So at that point, did the sort of vision, like, because prior to kind of going down that road, did you have a vision of what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Yes. Failing me going into my junior year, my sophomore year of school, I was getting ready to go to Voltech to be a chef. I was going to go to culinary first half of the day. I was going to go to culinary the first half of the day of school at Voltech, and then go to school for the rest of the day.
Were you hoping to like go to CIA?
I wanted to go to the CIA, or I wanted to go to Johnson & Wales, right? That was my plan, to be a chef. So
what was your inspiration there?
I just love to cook. I love watching the old cooking shows.
I was going to say Food Network was really big at that time.
Channel
too.
44 had a lot of cooking shows.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Julia Childs was on all the time.
The older
then?
lady, a lot of people were on there. I used to love watching that stuff.
Who would you always watch?
I can't.
Were you a fan of Ina?
Whatever the one with the crazy accent. Oh, no, we're going to be
That's
cooking
Julia
this.
Childs.
Okay, so her.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Who else did I watch cooking back in the? It's so long ago I can't even remember. But I used to watch cooking shows. My grandmother.
Well, I was all over Emeril Lagasse back then.
Emeril,
he's the guy who turned me on to like really wanting to cook in the house.
I used to love watching food infomercials late at night too.
Oh,
maybe cooking with the pans.
Oh, the set it and forget it guy.
Set it and forget it. Cooking with the nonstick pans.
The rotisserie.
Yeah. But the whole empire.
Oh,
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now.
Ron Popeil.
There it is.
Ron Popeil.
Right.
I used to watch those infomercials. My grandmother used to let me cook with her. My grandfather used to let me cook her. I used to cook dinner in the house. I used to want to be a chef.
We're relatively close in age. This is totally a side note, but if my mom would laugh if she heard this. Thinking back to the late night TV, do you remember Rhonda Shear Up All Night?
What did he do?
Rhonda Shear. She was like the sexy TV on. It was always like the late night TV show,
like on HBO, the Skinamax stuff.
She would. It was like in space. It was like that, but it wasn't.
Brian knows.
What was it?
Emmanuel in space.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. No, this was
we're going back, baby.
This was on USA. It was on the channel USA, and it was. She would come on late night. She would have her like lingerie on, and it would be like she'd be like, "This is Rhonda Shear with Up All Night."
Absolutely.
You do remember it?
All night.
And that was when that commercial came on that they used to have. They would interject it, and it would be like, "You don't have to be alone tonight.
Yes, holy shit.
Just call me. Pick up the phone." Yeah, that was the time of that. Sorry,
it's all good.
I had to bring a little bit of that back to us.
I got Brian laughing with Emmanuel in space and all that
fantastic.
shit, man. That was some good stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, you were inspired by a lot of those.
Yeah, I was inspired by all the chefs and cooking. I used to like cooking in my house.
Okay.
I used to make Nordone's pizza into gourmet pizza, baby. You know how I used to do that? I would add salt, pepper, garlic, salt, and olive and onion powder. Put it in the oven for 20 minutes. Bring it out. Gourmet Nardone's pizza. Shout out to Nardone's Bros Pizza for always being in my refrigerator growing up. I don't give a shit who in this area says it's bad. You're probably eating it under your blankets right now.
I forever have. Nardone's was a staple for us for sure. It was. I always like to. I liken Nardone's particularly as a kid to. I always referred to it as swimming pool pizza because it always seemed that all summer long we'd be out at the pool. Yeah. And then my she would fire up the pizza in the oven. Mm-hmm. And my grandma would get the French bread Nardone's.
How good is that shit? Oof. What a different experience. The cheese is completely. I love Nardone's French bread pizza.
That's fantastic.
It is really good.
Occasionally, and I got to be honest too. Like I wasn't just Nardone's was great. It was always like we loved it because it was like the creamiest cheese.
It was just always there, yeah.
But I also loved Elio's.
Oh, Elio's, yeah.
It had that like spicy little sauce.
Comes in the 3 big pieces.
Yeah.
My mother always bought that too in the freezer.
Oh yeah.
And then Nardone's bro in the refrigerator.
Yeah. Did you ever have
some Crystal Club soda?
Did you ever? Here's a question though. Did you ever have the other Nardones, which was I think it was Nona Nardone?
No.
It was their grandmother's.
Was it like a darker cheese on
top?
Like
a grandma's.
Was it a darker cheese
on
top?
Yeah. Well, it was like a
green, red, and white box.
No, that's Longos.
Okay, I never had that either. I probably have.
Yeah,
I never had the other Nardones, bro. You're blowing my mind.
There was I think there was like a Grandma Nardone or something like that. I forget. Maybe maybe the listeners, watchers, viewers this time will know. So if you know that, chime in on the comments. But I'm pretty sure it was like the Grandma Nardone or something. Yeah.
I got to find out more.
Yeah, it was like a lot more rustic.
Did you know Middlesworth makes ruffle style potato chips?
No.
So Albert was on before. He said that they like, what was it called? Brian, you remember what he was calling it? Like a party? Like a party?
Something like that.
It was like party. It's regular, the regular flavor.
I did not know that.
Chips, but there were ruffle chips.
Interesting.
I fucking love ruffles. It's a whole different chip experience.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So I wanted to. So watching all the late night stuff, all the cooking shows. I still love Ramsay now and all the kind of guys, Kitchen Nightmare, but that wasn't around in the 90s, right?
Do you think he's a bit much?
Oh yeah. But
I mean, the guy is so
much show. It's so much show, though. It's so much show. It's so much.
Have you interviewed Chef Vaughn yet?
I have to. I want to. I got to get introduced to him. I got to go up there and eat.
Ryan's my buddy.
Let's go and eat steak.
Let's go because you know he's on Next Level Chef.
I see all of his stuff, man. I'm inspired by him.
He's such a good
let's go eat
dude.
Let's go eat some meat.
Yeah. He was just texting me the other day.
That'd be awesome.
He saw my picture. He was like, "Bro, you're looking great."
I would love to get him on here. That would be amazing.
I will get him on here.
That would be amazing.
He
awesome.
He'll talk over both of us. He's so loaded with energy.
Yeah, I love that.
Chef Vaughn's amazing.
I follow him. I see all his stuff. So shout out to him. Inspired me.
Yeah.
Chef Vaughn and I'll leave the cooking. I saw that. Yeah,
his mom is amazing too.
You got to go there and eat.
Oh my God. About that. And by the way, before I switch directions, he makes this peanut butter cheeseburger.
I want to try that.
A peanut butter bacon cheeseburger.
I want to try that. People talk about peanut butter on a bacon cheeseburger. I would absolutely try that.
I was like, I don't know. And then
I'm assuming it's something. I'm assuming I'm going to love it.
That'd be one of the first things that I would turn back to if I was off a carnivore. I would just the bun, the whole.
I would love to definitely try that. So watching all that shit, Frank, right? And then I was getting ready to go to school that next year, but I failed my freshman year. I got suspended in school a lot. I don't want to be there, right? So I had to repeat my freshman year. So then I started working at Marvelous Mugs more.
Yeah.
I saw what happened, and I saw what chefs did in the kitchen for years, and I was like, I don't want to be a chef no more. So I switched gears, but now I'm a pothead, so I didn't care about anything. I wasn't thinking about a career anymore.
Sure.
Right? I always worked, though. I was always working. So high school was fine, but then high school introduced me to a lot of different drugs. Mostly it was pot. My friend would bring pills in, Darvocets and Vicodins and Xanax and all that kind of shit. Then my father got sick when I was 13 years old. He got depression really bad, and I think he could have fought a little bit more. I didn't understand. I understand a lot more now. I don't want to get too much into it, but my father was a great father growing up. We always did stuff together, movies, all that kind of stuff, collecting everything like that. Then he got sick, and all of a sudden, bam. Now, I started getting a little bit older, hanging out with my friends more, and then my father would have maybe a couple of recoveries in between him being sick, but now I'm more distant with him now because I'm growing up.
Not with substance, just mental health.
Mental health, yeah. And then he didn't understand my separation of wanting to hang out with my friends more. Hey, I'm going to the mall with my friends. Hey, why can't I come? I'm going to the mall with my friends, Dad. Any normal operating mind is going to be like, my son's growing up. All right, have a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He would get jealous. And as a kid, I don't deserve that. That's not my fault.
Sure.
That's not my fault.
That's tough.
And it's not like I didn't include him. We did things together, but I was exploring my wings more. I was trying to going through puberty, all the information, going through puberty.
Were you
liking
a mall
girls
kid?
More? Oh my God, Steamtown Mall every Friday night. Drop me off, baby. Me and my buddies.
There you
we
go.
go there, 3 or 4 of us, 7 o'clock, eat, walk around to the mall closed.
Aimlessly.
Or view mall. Yeah. Oh, the Steamtown Mall was the best. Listen to a shake, stand there while it shakes,
I was just telling somebody I saw They couldn't believe this, but I saw Pink play center court at the Steamtown Mall.
Pink's a looker.
I mean, for sure. But her voice.
She's a good singer.
Whew,
Yeah, she's a good singer.
her voice
that must have
gives me
been
the
pretty
chills.
cool.
Amazing.
A lot.
I'm like, what?
A lot of big stars came down in this area back in the day. Justin Bieber was there, I think.
Playing in the? No, I don't think he played, but
He might have. He was.
she played center court where the elevators come
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
She did the whole stage. She played there.
I'm almost certain Bieber was there one time too.
Okay,
Like KRZ brought him.
that's kind of crazy.
That. Yeah.
All right,
Steamtown Mall was the attraction back in
it
the day.
actually
man.
was, man. Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah. I bet there was other bands that showed up there we don't know about.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
I just really remember her.
I would have liked to see Pink because she's a good singer.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she's a good singer.
So mall goer.
Mall goer, and I was just, and then my father kept getting sicker.
Yeah.
And then I got in trouble at school. I was 16. 16. They were doing a big drug thing in the area. They're trying to find all the pot dealers.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the Old Forest police thought that we were, me and my circle, about 15, 20 kids in school, different circles, but whatever. They thought we were running drugs through the school, which was hysterical because we
Because
weren't.
like the weed
Because we weren't.
kingpins?
Because we weren't. We were getting it from people up in Scranton or whatever, right?
Sure.
There was no drug. The only drug dealing that went on in the school was like, I will sell you a joint for fucking $5.
I got
And
you.
they're like, that makes you a drug. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it came from, it doesn't matter, right?
So how did you? They came crashing down on you.
They made an announcement over the loudspeaker that the Dunmore Police Department is working with the DA's office, the Old Forest Police Department. They're bringing
Running
the drug
dogs.
dogs come down, right?
Oof.
So that morning, a friend of mine called me. He's like, hey, you want to get stoned before school? Which wasn't out of the ordinary because I was going to get stoned before school anyways.
Yeah.
But he hasn't called me in a long time to do that. So I pick him up. We go smoke. We have our stuff in the car. Now, I had my pot in my car in the parking lot, so did about 40 other people. But somehow, they only got me. I mean, there's no way I don't know how the drug dogs didn't smell the 75 roaches in my friend's ashtray. Brian, my ashtray's full of roaches, but the dogs don't smell that?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that about? I don't know what happened with that. Other people telling me, Brian, I had pot in my car too. Pot in my car too. Pot in my car too. They only hit my car? The fuck was this dog on? You know what I mean? Anyways, so they pull me out of class. And I'm down in the office with the DA and the police, and I'm 17. I'm still a minor. They're yelling at me. They're doing this. They're like, "You're gonna go to." I'm like, "Listen, I just want to call my mother." They wouldn't let me. So that ran.
And how old are you here?
So that hurt them in the long run. I was 17.
17.
17 in high school, and I was just getting more. I didn't want to be in school anymore, and I was a junior, whatever fucking year I was in, right? And I'm like, let me call my mother. I'm a minor. They wouldn't let me. And long story short, my guidance teacher was in there, and they wanted to do this, wanted to do this, but basically they evaded my rights, and it didn't matter anymore. Nothing really came out of it. You know what I mean? But what came out of it was, I remember being home. My parents were upset. Now my father, who was at this point in his point in his depression, a little more self-minded about himself only, which is, he was sick, but but he's like, are you doing this because of me? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm smoking pot because I want to, because I like it. That was it. It wasn't family issues.
Right.
I didn't smoke pot because, now, did the situation of me failing my freshman year and hanging out with different crowd of people put the situation? Yes, but I said yes to hanging out with my friend Steve and going to smoke that joint. Right. So I only did it because I wanted to keep doing it. Not because my father was sick, not because my family was falling apart a little bit, because my parents were going to get divorced when I was 8, when I graduated school. My mother left my father. My mother did everything for him, but they couldn't get past that, whatever. Right. So now I'm broken. Now here we are. I used to hold my nose up to people that had broken families. Like, oh, my parents are still together. But now that came back to me now. Like, now my family's broken. Now I have to make a decision who would I want to live with. So I lived with my mother. My brother stayed with my father, and we dealt with that trauma years later. You know what I mean? And I always came out okay with it. I was strong enough to be like, it's not my fault. This isn't my fault. So I have to be there for my mother because my father's not there to be for anybody else right now. Now my father slowly got better. He's still alive. He still lives his life, right? But I missed out on that part of childhood, getting older with my father, and then being older with my parents being together. So I don't like that part of my life. I missed out on that, but things worked out the way they worked out. But then I kept on trying more drugs.
Well, I was going to ask. So I guess weed was your
Weed is
essential gateway.
Weed is by definition the gateway drug. People that say it's not a gateway drug, they're lying.
Right.
They're lying. Any drug that you do that leads to another drug is the definition of a gateway drug.
Yeah. You could argue that alcohol is a gateway.
100%. So are cigarettes.
Yeah.
Because what are the two most abundant drugs on the planet right now? Cigarettes and alcohol.
Yeah, accessible, right.
Yeah, cigarettes and alcohol. And if parents do both, they're right there for you to steal. And what did I do? I stole both of them.
Yeah.
Then pot. Then pot opened me up to the drug dealers who were selling the pot. And then one day out of the blue, hey, I got some cocaine. I got some ecstasy. You want to try that? No. Then one of our other friends would say yes. And then they bring it around and then you try it. Then you like it. Ooh, this is fun. This is fun. Let's keep doing this.
Club drugs were big when we were younger.
Let's keep doing this. Then I found ecstasy. That was like God. People ask me what ecstasy is like. I'm like, the only way I can explain it is God's in your ear, sitting on your earlobe, whispering into your brain, you're going to have a good time tonight. You have a good time tonight. And God is controlling that. That's how no worry in the world matters when you're on that drug. It's scary. And drugs, I think about it now, but that's how it was for years. Weekend warrior shit. I'd always work. I would get fucked up on Friday night and go wait on tables and bartend on Saturday and Sundays. Repeat the cycle. I wasn't going to school yet. Then I met a nice girl when I was younger. Her parents thought I was a deadbeat. I'm like, because I'm working and I would smoke pot, but yet your son's going out and drunk driving every night, but you're okay with that because it's legal.
Right.
Alcohol is legal. I smoke a joint with my friends. I'm the devil, but your son's coming home drunk every night, but that's okay because it's legal. Fucking bullshit, right? So I said, I'll prove these fuckers wrong. I'll go to college. I was 22. I enrolled in Lackawanna College. And I was joking high school. I barely graduated high school, right? I took the entry test. I had fucked up the English and the math. I had to go through college, take remedial classes just to get, they didn't even count towards credits. But that's fine. But I put my first semester at Lackawanna College, doing the remedial classes.
While you're working in the restaurant?
While I was working full time, got myself back up educational wise.
How old were you around that time?
22, 23.
Okay.
And I went to Lackawanna College. I graduated from there, and then I went to Penn State Worthington, got my marketing degree and business degree. However, everything was going great until my last year. My last year is when my addiction took over my life. I started working at a restaurant where there was just more pills and food, and it went from... So the cycle repeated itself, like I was saying earlier, right? Fun, priorities. Fun, priorities. And I told Russell in my last episode, I knew when the drugs took over my life, Frank. It was when I was lifting weights at the gym, just to be closer to Scranton, hoping that my guy would message me for the pills that I want. At this point in my life, it was a Vicodin addiction.
Wow.
But I would always fight it off. Hey, I got those pills for you. I'll get them later. I'm in the middle of a workout because I worked out. I was in great shape. But then the pills.
Was that always a part of your thing?
What's that?
Working out, going to the gym? Like,
I was an extremely talented power lifter and football player.
You're a power lifter too?
But I gave those away when I decided to quit everything. I did nothing else. I was 15 years old, benching, squatting, and deadlifting 500 pounds. You know what I mean? But I decided I wanted to smoke pot instead of doing that, which was very unfortunate,
Yeah.
So then one day I'm in the gym. Now I'm out of high school by this point. Now we're going.
Yeah, you're in your 20s.
We're getting into my 20s, right? I'm going into my super senior year of college, and I had some more semesters to go. And I stayed down my harder classes. I was very stressed out taking calculus. It almost killed me. And I remember I had a Vicodin. I wasn't getting Vicodin sick yet from not having them yet, right? But I loved them now. Now I want them all the time. And when that guy messaged me, hey, I got those. I put the weights on the ground. I left. Never came back to the gym for a very long time. That's when my addiction took over my life.
So what was where did that smack you in the face?
Me realizing that's where my life was going right now.
Well, when did you realize, oh shit, I'm in too deep?
Oh, I didn't realize that for a long time.
Yeah. So how long?
I had spurts of me detoxing myself off Vicodins a whole bunch of times when I realized that only reason I would detox myself off is because I couldn't find them anymore. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to be sick today. I'm not going to do this for nothing. Let me be sick for 3 days. Then I would detox myself off the Vicodins, but then I'd be bored. I didn't know how to live my life normal, enjoy my lifestyle without being high off those pills. In the Xanax addiction I had at the time, was underlining addiction, and the pot I still smoked weren't as satisfying as the feeling I got off the opiates.
So if you come full circle to what we were talking about before, and I pull the pin out of that thing that I said I'm going to put a pin in, right? I'm very curious on how you don't look at that as a disease.
So?
Because you're in this position where you said, because when we reference the addiction,
Right.
it's the thing that's taken you over.
Let me pin it right there right now. That day in that gym, out of the two activities I could have done that day, finish my workout and go home, or go pick up the drugs and go home.
Right. But
That was my choice.
Yeah,
My
but-
choice was to go pick up the drugs.
No doubt, right? But was it your conscious choice?
It was the activity I wanted to do more. Well, I don't know if it's my conscious. It was the activity I wanted to do that more. Than
The
lifting.
disease is not the disease part, and what I've really come to understand this, and I think it's a healthy conversation to have. The reason that I lean on the idea of or the philosophy on the disease aspect of it is because if you were in your conscious mind, the right frame of mind, you would not have chosen that. It is the disease that drove the choice. It started with a choice, then your life spiraled out of control. The disease got a hold of you. The disease is what makes you pick it up. It's the same. Addiction is a disease, no matter what the substance is, right? It's the idea that you're making a really piss poor decision, and you're making it because your mental cognizance is skewed because of the disease. You could refer to this in any capacity. Does somebody commit suicide if in their normal mindset? No, they're sick. Mental health has become an issue. They made that decision because they're sick. That's not a normal decision. Does somebody consciously choose to do the most extreme things? No. I mean, there's a reason why so many people have, in fear, responded and have cleared themselves of a murder charge, essentially, because they were in a moment of extreme fear or whatever the situation was, and their mind took over. Now, I don't know if that's disease as much as it is physical response, but there's this thing about the terminology disease being applied to addiction because it's not temporary. It's something that you have to recognize, and people in recovery have to recognize that it is, once you recognize and accept that you're an addict for the rest of your life. And it is to appreciate that and embrace that so that you're always consciously aware that you are extremely susceptible to what other people may be able to manage. And so, like somebody who can go and eat hot dogs and pizza and do all this, the next person who does that drives themselves into diabetes. And the person who has a relationship with things, right? Like, I think it's fair to say, and I haven't been diagnosed with this, but in my own understanding of addiction, right, that I would say to you that I found that I would self-proclaim that I had a food addiction. And I accept that as some level of disease because I would not have consciously chosen to. You don't sit there and you're having a bad day, right? Culturally, we're driven into this situation, and usually, again, culturally, you were driven into that. You had friends that you were partying with, hanging out with, right? I did too. I was hanging out with friends, right? But drugs and alcohol never clicked for me, right? I'd be lying if I said I didn't try shit, right? I certainly did, right? I mean,
it wasn't your flavor.
It wasn't. I always felt I would get anxiety over not having control, right? Where other people love that. They're like, whew, I'm out of my mind, boof, and they just love that. That would give me more anxiety. I was the guy that when we tried something, I would sit there like this, waiting for the feeling and be like, oh Christ, I hope this isn't the worst, right? Like, what's this ride going to be like? Almost like when somebody for the first time is going on a roller coaster and never been on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Right. Where other people are like addicted to that high. I never fell in love with it. So for me, the predisposition of whatever that was, it didn't click, thank God. But for food, bro, my relationship with food was terrible.
But you also you probably went into your eating your food knowing it wasn't going to have a harming effect like a drug could have had, right? Does that make,
well, you're blind to it, right? Yeah. Like meaning I consciously
like you'll
chose.
be safe. You'll be safe eating that pizza versus eating that pill your friend gave you.
If you compared the two, unfortunately, because there's the problem.
You're
right?
absolutely right. You overdid it.
Well, if you compared the two, I would tell you that, well, yeah, pizza's obviously the better than a pill, but that wasn't my choice, right? For me, it was I would turn to food as a comfort thing. So if you're going through some stress, you're going through whatever, right? But same thing, you can look at that and say, well, what's the Hollywood version? You come home after a hard day of work, you pop the crystal off the top of the fancy bottle, glug, 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 right? Have yourself a little scotch after, because apparently culturally we deserve to feed ourselves poison after a day of hard work.
It's a great way to look at it.
Right?
Yeah.
But that becomes habitual, right? And then that habit then becomes, in some instance, if you overdo it, right? Because you hear about these people with their tolerance. So for me, and I think for a lot of people, go out and jam down an entire pizza, right? And tell me how you feel after that. Because a lot of people, if you haven't done that before, the first time,
horrible,
you're going to feel like a bag of ass, right? And you're going to feel all bloated, and it's a
right? Bag of ass.
Right. But you loved what you ate, right? You loved what you ate, but you're going to feel terrible. But do it again, and then do it again. Suddenly, you start getting used to that, and you start wrapping your head around the idea that the eating, the consumption is the comfort go-to, and then that becomes your habit, your response, your mechanism, and that is the mental disease that takes over and drives, because consciously, you would not, in your healthy state, you would not have chosen to be like, yeah, I would love to be the guy who just eats pizzas because I had a bad day. I'm going to go eat an entire box of ring dings because it'll make me feel happy, right? Like, you could joke about it, just like somebody can joke about, damn, man, like, you're such a weak, right? You're such a weakling. Like, you drink two and then two beers and you're drunk, right? And we all know what they call those people,
I can
right?
hear that person saying it too.
Yeah, but here's the thing: like, you could joke about that as if it's something to be proud about.
Right.
That it takes you 12 beers to get drunk instead of the average person 2 or 3. It takes you 12, and you're like, ha ha ha, right, buddy? That's not something to be waving around and be all proud about. Like, we are in this situation, probably laugh and joke and be like, oh, Jimmy, oh boy, he can drink them down, right? He'll drink you under the...
That's never a compliment. Well, for some people, it's a compliment.
But culturally, it is.
You're right.
Right?
You're 100% right.
And so I'm saying to you that where the disease, I think, kicks in is the idea that, one, consciously we accept it. And we think that there's this, we allow it to become a disease. I'm not saying it's a disease right from the beginning. I'm saying the mental disease matures and sprouts like a virus in your brain after you've started to consume that substance and become reliant on it with whatever relationship it is that you have with it. If it's your go-to because it makes you feel better, and then you double down, triple down, quadruple, and it continues to expand, the reason that's happening and you're getting out of control with it, but not consciously recognizing you're getting out of control, you may even have a moment where you're like, well, this is really bad. I shouldn't do this. And then you do it anyway.
Listen, I have to, with that being said, I fucking knew it was out of control. I didn't care.
But you kept doing it.
I like doing it.
Well, but that's
I also didn't know how to live my life any other way at that point either, Frank. Is that a disease or is it my choice? And my choice is to keep doing it over and over again. You know, I feel like the disease. I remember being in Clearbrook, talking to Dick kind of boy. I was there for a month, you know, and Dick got me. Know you. Oh, yeah, Dick got me. They got me an extra week there on the house, which I told him I wasn't ready to go home after 21 days. So when I got arrested, the county paid for my rehab. So, you know, people say the county doesn't do shit for you, man. They were there for me. They got me in bed in a day and a half.
But what did you learn? Like, so what did you learn in treatment and recovery that helped you?
One, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
One, I remember you said earlier about people, rehab doesn't work. I couldn't fucking wait to go to rehab. I had a cycle of getting in trouble, all right? January of 15, I got a DUI. Laying in the hospital, handcuffed to the bed, while they were waiting for the blood test to come back.
Did you crash?
I crashed into the Land Factory on 315.
Oh, outside the Wyoming Valley
I don't
Mall?
know what the fuck happened. I left Toys R Us that morning to go look for wrestling figures. I don't know if I came up the street, came around and did a U-turn and smashed into it, went up the wrong way and smashed into it, or went over. I was on a 3 or 4 day Adderall bender. I wasn't a drinker. I wasn't a drinker.
You were fading.
It was just a matter of time to go in the blackout mode. I used to pass out places, which is terrifying.
That is.
And I would get up and I would do it again. Make sure my pockets have my wallet and my Adderall in it, and I was good to go. So there's only 3 scenarios of how I smashed into the Land Factory. The pole, that big black tower pole right next to it. I didn't actually smash into the building. It was the black pillar that's holding up that the billboard, right? There's only 3 ways I could hit that. I went up to the light, made a U-turn, turned into it. Came up, went over the medium, and slammed into it. Or I went up the wrong way and slammed into it. There's no other
way. There's slammed into it.
Horrible, right? Got into the accident. I don't remember even being in my car. I remember being in the ambulance. And I remember telling the ambulance people, don't give me any fucking. No, and that was a different time. I remember being in the ambulance, going to the hospital, and I was just so out of it, right? We get into the hospital, and they had me handcuffed the whole time, a suspicion of DUI, right? But I wasn't drinking. Somehow the police left the Klonopins that were in the Klonopin pills that were in my cup holder. They were there when I got my car back. Thank God, because I wanted them, and they were still there. I don't know how they missed that, right? But they're giving me blood work for drugs and alcohol. So 2 months later, regardless, my mother came to pick me up. Now, I just started working at the casino, so my hours were a mess. I was working grave shifts. So I just told her I was tired, and she believed it because she worked those hours.
You were a car dealer, right?
Yeah, I was a blackjack dealer at the time. I go, Ma, I was just tired. I fell asleep at the wheel. She goes, I understand. I used to work those hours too. So my mother didn't want to know any of it.
Right.
But that was my chance to tell her, Mom, I need help. But I felt like there was no problem. You know, I knew it was bad.
Did the blood test come back? You got in trouble?
2 months later, I got the blood work in the mail. I got a DUI for Xanax and Ritalin because I was snorting Ritalin at the time too.
Oh boy.
Yeah. High powered. There was the Concertas. Disgusting, right? So I called up my lawyer, and he told me scenario, never in trouble before. He goes, we could fight your Xanax because your Xanax is a prescription, but it'll cost a lot of money to get the levels. You're better off just taking the ARD route, putting it behind you. So that's how I spent the next few months on ROR bail for my DUI in Luzerne County. But I was trying to beat the summer out. I'm like, oh my God, I had to stop doing my drugs.
Did you have to hit the jail at all?
No, not then. So I was like, all right. So I remember saying to myself, okay, when I'm on ARD, I'm allowed to have my Xanax because they're a prescription from the doctor. So I'll just enjoy those. But at the time, I still had an underlying Suboxone addiction that wasn't getting me high anymore because I was taking Suboxone that were getting me high. People take Suboxone to get off of heroin.
Yeah, were you taking Suboxone off the street or actually prescribed?
Off the street. No, it got me
strips.
Yeah, it got me higher than the pills did.
Oh,
actually leveled me out for years financially and mentally, right? I went from eating 35 Vicodin in a day. I refused to take Oxycontin because I had a bad experience with them.
Yeah.
I'm like, heroin was going to be next. Now, went to my drug dealer up at Harvey's Lake that one Saturday night, late night. I was dope sick from not eating the Vicodins, right? I remember driving up there. I was at the point where I needed 20 Vicodins to not be sick anymore. I wasn't even getting high. It was disgusting. The money I spent on them could have bought a house.
And you don't think that's a disease?
No, that's the problem. Why is it a disease? Why can't this be a really bad fucking problem? It's got to be the disease.
You can treat a disease.
Here's my idea, Frank, with the disease, and maybe I'm wrong for thinking this way. It sounds like a cop out. Like it's not my fault. It was my fault.
No. You made the choice.
Well, that's what I was ingrained in treatment, that it's a disease and it's not completely your fault. And I was like, I can't pass the buck for what I did. I did it out of myself.
I don't know if you got that message clear.
It's possible. Well, I also wasn't in the clear state of mind when I went to rehab.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to that exact moment, right? So, where was I?
Well, you were talking about you got the DUI.
At the DUI. So now I'm spending the time. I was getting ready to get ARD, right? So I knew I could eat my Xanax when I'm on. My Xanax was an underlying addiction. I was eating Xanax for years. I was addicted to that.
Harvey's Lake.
Thank you. When I drove up there before they put these stupid roundabouts up there, it was a nice straight line, the Harvey's Lake through Dallas, and I met my drug dealer, and he could have given me anything that night. If he told me, this is your mother's soul, will get you high, but she won't be with us anymore, I would have took it. If he gave me heroin, I would have took it. We would not be having this conversation right now.
Sure.
The way I went, how hard I was.
OD.
Fentanyl wasn't even a thing back then. I don't think it was in 2015, but the way I went, how hard I went, I would absolutely overdose on heroin. I'm not even saying it to joke around or anything like that. It absolutely would have killed me because I would have started the heroin. I would have started snorting it. Luckily, I never did heroin, but I probably would have started snorting it. Then I would have shot it in my veins. Then it would have been all over.
Right. I want to share a quick perspective.
Please.
Because this was one of the most startling things that hit me in the experience of working in that space. When the news releases information about there being essentially a bad batch, if you will,
People love that shit.
So, mind-boggling.
I'm sorry. I knew you were going.
No. But that's for the people who are listening to this, right? There's this idea that if the news comes out and it says, we have to make this announcement so that people are aware that the heroin that's on the streets right now has an exorbitant amount of fentanyl within it, and it's killing people. All of a sudden, all of the junkies, right? And I say that because that is at that point where they're at.
I was
right?
a junkie.
Yeah. And at that point, they go, where do we get that at? Right?
Would a pussy overdosed on that? I can handle that shit.
Yeah. So they go looking for the stuff that kills somebody. And that, to me, is not choice. That is not choice, bud. That's the disease. You are doing some shit that you would never consciously do. You are sick. Sick. It's happening. I'm telling you. Yeah.
I'm warming up to the idea a little bit. Let's get the clear book. All right. So my friend, my drug dealer.
Did you go because you were forced, or was it like you said, no, I got to go to rehab?
Oh no, it was either.
Was it court ordered?
No, it wasn't court ordered. So
okay.
I'm going to circle up to that in a second. So my drug dealer, I pick him up that day. He looks at me and he goes, "Bro, I can't sell you Vicodins no more." I go, "Why?" He goes, you're taking
out of your mind.
No. And ultimately, he didn't have them to sell anymore. And he has Suboxone to sell. And he explained to me what they were. And I remember taking a piece of it. And by the time I got off the Morgan Highway, I felt like a fucking $1 million off of this tiny piece of Suboxone I paid $20 for, instead of paying $100 every time I got high. The job I had at the time was really good, and I had nothing to show for it. My bills were paid, but I had nothing else to show for it. I just had money to buy drugs. I was spending thousands of dollars a month on Vicodin at this point. How sick is that? And people were like, "Oh, just taking 80 milligram Oxycontin." I'm like, no, I did that years ago. I was sick for 3 days. I had that bad association. I didn't eat porchetta for fucking 20 years, and I threw up once. You know what I mean? So the last thing I was going to do is put an Oxycontin into my system, right? I used to snort Oxycontins and cocaine at the same time. What would they call that? Candy flipping. Talk about disgusting, Frank. Disgusting. I can't believe my heart didn't explode, right? So he gave me Suboxone. That leveled my addiction off of for years. I was spending less money. I always had them. It started off with a little bit, then it turned into a half a strip, then a full strip, then 2 strips, then 3 strips, just to get high. That was over the course of maybe 2 or 3 years. Then I wake up one morning, I do my regular routine. It didn't work anymore. I did another one, didn't work anymore. Again, the next day it didn't work anymore. And I'm piling Xanax on top of this addiction too. It could be a lethal dose, those two together, benzos and Suboxone, right? So the circus continued, right? So
how are you physically at this point? Withering away?
No, I used to go to, I was still going on dates. I was still decent. I cared about my appearance still because the Suboxone made me made me a cleaner addict.
Jeez.
It made me, how disgusting is that, right?
Yeah.
It made me a cleaner addict. And I knew I had a fucking problem, but it was under control.
Yeah,
there
it is.
There was no problem. Everything was good. I have my supply for the next 2 months. I have my prescriptions, no problem. I have backup Xanax, people. You know, sounds like a fucking disease, Frank.
I'm just saying.
So all this is going on, right? And then the one day, the Suboxone stopped working. Stopped getting me high.
Oof.
So now I have a huge Suboxone addiction where your body doesn't respond well to that, right?
Yeah.
So I have a huge Suboxone addiction that's not getting me high. It's like being an alcoholic and you have to drink alcohol, but you're not going to get buzzed off of it. Imagine that. It's terrifying.
Why you start, and then that's where people like turn to like hand sanitizer and crazy stuff.
So I was lucky, and well, no, I wasn't lucky. I'll get to the lucky part. I thought bath salts were actual bath salts, like you put in the bathtub, and people were snorting them. I didn't realize how dangerous they were. Luckily, I never did them. I never tried them. But I would have died off of those probably. But so now for a month, I am back to where I'm bored. I'm not enjoying. I'm not getting that euphoric feeling anymore. The pot's not doing it. By this time, I think by this time I stopped smoking pot. It was just the box and the Xanax and the cigarettes. And I was like, oh, God, I still have my Xanax, but I don't like the Xanax. I can't go out and function as much as I want to I'm on the Suboxone. I like that euphoric feeling. So, I always say, sometimes God puts things in your life for the right reasons, but sometimes the devil sneaks one in. And the devil snuck an Adderall into my system at work. You want Adderall? I'm like, yeah, sure. I used to do them once in a while. I used to like doing cocaine, but I used to hate it because the come down was horrible. So I would do it for a Friday night. I go work. I wouldn't touch it again for a while. Never got hooked on that stuff. It was a lot of fun, but the come down wasn't worth me going through the next day. And I was always the guy buying more of it in the middle of the night because I wanted more of it. And it was hundreds of dollars. It was stupid, right?
Yeah.
But Adderall, which is just like cocaine and meth, cheaper, more availability. The come down is you go to sleep. You wake up feeling pretty good in the morning, right? Unless you take it for 3-4 days in a row like I used to do, and your mind is just empty.
You're shot.
So for the next year, the Adderall set me off, Frank. It set me off. I was like, whoa. I was always downer. Now I'm upper. I created a $35,000 a year eBay business selling wrestling figures on Adderall, but then I ruined that business because I would do sales for a few days when I'm awake. I would wrap them all up, make all the sales, take all the money, have to ship them the third day. But by the third day, I just crashed out for 12 hours. I woke up feeling like death on death's door.
Yeah.
I set my work schedule so I could sleep for 2 days. I would sleep for 2 days. Next thing I wake up to a mailbox full of refund. I promised 2 days shipping. I fucked everything up, right?
Oh.
I wasn't shipping everything up. And that was then I would get back on it. Then another constant cycle. Then eBay is like, you're done. So I was like, oh, fuck, I need more money now. So those other things, Adderall ate my soul away. I would go on a repeat cycle for the next year and a half. 3-4 days eating Adderall, 2 days sleeping, 1 day feeling like death. I go work. I would start eating Adderall my last day of dealing cards. I go in that casino maybe 1 or 2 days in a row without sleeping, dealing cards, thinking people are cheating, seeing shadow people. If you're ever up for 3 days, you start seeing shadow people are real. If you're up for 3-4 days in a row without sleeping, you start seeing shit that's not there. I thought a meth house was next door to my apartment. I mean, I'm running through my neighbor's houses, through my neighbor's yards, thinking it's the meth house. And my neighborhood I grew up in.
Wow.
Disgusting. Adderall made me do things I never did do in my life. People I was hanging out with, other drugs I was doing. That ate my soul away and put me in jail. I finally got fucking put down. I got the DUI in January. That was because of the Adderall and everything else I was doing. And then June 15th, we're coming up on the anniversary soon for 10 years. I'll be sober 10 years almost, and it was, I got arrested. I got the bright idea, up on an Adderall binge for days. I was going to go to the casino up in Mount Airy with a friend. We went up there. We got a room. Went down to the bar. Started drinking tequila. I'm up for 4 days, no food in my belly. Gee, that's a really good mix. Got kicked out of the casino. Got my gaming license pulled. Well, I got my gaming license pulled later on in the day. We went home. She stopped for gas, she said. I got out of the car. I remember in my blackout being in at my aunt's. There's this beautiful house on Main Street in Old Forest next to ABC Kitty Campus. Really nice house. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Not necessarily.
That's fine. We have Ace Hardware. Then you come down the street. It's a beautiful house.
I get the general area.
So I remember being in the bushes in her house. I remember being in that. There was no reason I was just thinking about that place. I probably walked home from the gas station, which I walked past that place on the way to my house. I remember standing in the bushes. It was a familiar house probably in my blackout. Then I went home. I lived on Mary Street, right next to an Old Forest police officer. We shared a yard. I went into her backyard, walked into her shed, took stuff out of it. I'm yelling at a dog in her house. I'm talking to 2 kids that were in the driveway. The kids weren't there. They never existed.
Oh, wow.
My other neighbor that I grew up, this is the neighborhood I grew up as a little boy in. I moved back there a couple of years later, lived in my friend's apartment. So these older ladies, neighbors, they knew me as little Brian. Why is Big Brian being fucking crazy? Luckily, she witnessed it because it helped me in court. I thought it was my house. I want my key, open the door, right? Well, then the officer who lived there, Kim Buggy, she arrested me at gunpoint. Took me to jail. Jason DeBurnis, who was the police chief in Old Forge. I played football with him a few years older than me. Brian, what the fuck's wrong with you? I looked at him. I looked at her. I said, I'm fucking done. I'm done. Please, put me down. Put me somewhere. I cannot live this fucking life anymore. I need help. And that was the start of me getting help. And that changed my life right there. I needed to be put down. It could have been so much worse. I could have killed somebody. I could have killed myself. But it happened to happen that way. I got felony charges that set me up with treatment court in Lackawanna County. And initially I wasn't a candidate, but she fought for me. My neighbor fought for me. My lawyer fought for me. And they got me a second chance. And everyone that told me, you know treatment court, right?
Yeah.
Everyone told me that it's a trap. I'm like, why is it a trap? Oh, because you fuck up once, you go to jail. Oh. So if I go against the rules.
Yeah.
So if I do what they tell me not to do, I go to jail.
No shit.
Got it.
That's the point.
Got it. When I filed for that, I went and stood in front of Judge Barace. You told me you had him on this show right here,
Not
right?
on this show,
okay.
On another podcast.
Okay. So when I went to court and I understood what was going on, he told me, he goes, you're pleading guilty to all your charges. You're in my hands now. You understand that? I go, yes. He goes, what have you been doing so far? I go, I went to rehab. I'm 3.5 months sober. I go to AA meetings every day. I go, Your Honor, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I never want to go back to that jail cell. Because I was in jail for the night. And I remember being in jail, Lackawanna County, getting pushed around, weak as a feather. If I ever got into a fight, they would have killed me. Killed me. I was so weak. I was a shell of myself. And I remember finally I called my mother. She goes, I'll bail you out, but you're going to rehab. I go, please, Mom. I should have went to rehab in January when we were sitting in the hospital together. I go, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
So I got bailed out the next day. I spent the night in jail, got out the next day. I remember when I finally came to in my jail cell, I had a little bit of reflection. I sat up, and I'm on record saying it. I go, whew, man, wow. I go, this is where I ended up. I look out the window. I see the craziness going on there. I go, I'm never coming back here. I never went back. Never went back. I played the game, my treatment court, whatever you tell me to do, how you want me to jump. And I didn't just go in there.
Yes, Your Honor.
I didn't just go in there and be like, I'll do this and do that and just get done with it.
Yeah.
I got involved with it. I ran the AA meeting at DATS for months. I did volunteer work because I wasn't working. I did volunteer work while I did DATS.
Did you only go to treatment once?
I went to Clearbrook for 28 days, and then I went to DATS for about 7 months.
Okay.
Outpatient treatment.
Yeah.
That's all I needed, Frank. I needed to be removed from my lifestyle.
What worked for you in treatment? Like what was the thing that flipped the switch that said that's what I'm going to hold on to and I'm going to use that to stay successful?
The way my body felt not being on the drugs, and my mother crying, bringing me to rehab.
Oh,
my mother crying in the kitchen of my house when I remember I go, Mom, I'm going to go down the street and see Chris. She knew Chris Febo. She was a little bit of a drug guy with me. Like, no. And she's crying. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going down to smoke a cigarette, But I wasn't going down to do drugs. I was just going down to hang out. I need to get away out of the house.
Yeah, right.
But she didn't want any of that. She didn't trust me. And I learned that no one's going to trust you right now. But what they did was they stood by my side. My mother did. My best friend Rocco, who I trained jiu-jitsu with, he was the apartment I was living in. I didn't live with him, but it was his mother's. When I got in trouble, these were the people I was avoiding when I was doing the drugs. But guess who was there when I needed them the most? My true friends, my true family. And my counselor, Kevin. And stories Dick said, Joe Kane, all of the stories. And also, let's not to mention the 10 people who left rehab before me that died when they left. 10.
Yeah, that's sad. 10
fucking kids. I was given this one young girl, I can't remember her name, God forgive me. She asked me, I met her in DATS, and it was just a friendship. She goes, could you possibly pick me up and bring me here in the morning? I don't have a ride from the sober house. Of course. On the way, pick her up. And then one day I go pick her up. The guy comes out, told me she overdosed last night.
Oh.
How fucking sad.
Yeah.
So when that started, when two of my roommates fucking died from rehab, I heard that they died. There's one kid, Alan, God rest his soul. Remember seeing him the first day out of rehab at the AA meeting, where y'all going in, you're in there. 1 week later, he was fucking dead.
Yeah.
So you ask me what kept me sober? Going into jail, seeing my mother be upset, seeing all these people dying around me. And it finally clicked to me like, I don't need this lifestyle anymore. But also being removed from that lifestyle. Not able to access those drugs. And at that point, Frank, I wanted to stop doing it because I would go through the cycle.
Sure.
I do the Adderall for 4 days, for 3 weeks in a row. Then there'll be a week where it was dry everywhere. I would tell these people, I get rid of their phone numbers. Do not come back to my house on the 1st. I'll fucking shoot you.
Yeah.
Don't come back to my house. What they do? They came back to my house because they fucking knew. They knew I wouldn't say no to it.
Right.
I didn't know how to say no to it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to live a normal life anymore. I didn't know how to enjoy myself. And AA taught me that I could do that. I remember the overwhelming feeling in Clearbrook my first 2 or 3 days in. I was listening to one of the ladies up there. She was anyway, she was talking. I remember sitting there thinking to myself, wow, I can never drink at a wedding again. And it was this overwhelming feeling. But the funny part about it is, I've only been to 2 weddings in my life since then. It was like there's weddings every fucking day, right? Where you go and drink. But that was the most overwhelming feeling of my life. Was like, I can't enjoy myself at a wedding again.
Meaning like you kind of go, I can't be a normal person anymore.
I didn't know how to, I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
How can I watch TV normal?
Sure.
How can I do anything normal again?
Well, because it's your new normal. That's why.
It was there was a lot of hard things I did in my life. Learning how to be a crabs dealer was really hard. Getting sober was really hard, and jiu-jitsu was really hard. And getting sober was the most satisfying because without that, I wouldn't have learned the other two.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I needed to be removed from the situation. Can't do it alone. I couldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it alone.
Because you know why, Bri?
Because it was a disease.
Because the disease will kill you. That's why. Because that's what it comes down to.
So overpowering.
But and that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's terrifying.
You know, do you and here and we can because I want to move on to the food stuff. But
yeah.
But I'll ask you this question: do you look at depression as a diagnosis? Depression. Do you look at that as a disease?
I guess learning it from the way my father was, and then I dealt with it a little bit myself during college. I remember I thought I was depressed. I happened to see a counselor before one of my classes at night, and she explained to me situational depression. I kind of felt a little bit better from that. I was like, because I was still doing everything I needed to do. When it came to school, though, I was all fucked up with it. So she explained a lot to me, and yeah, I guess so. I guess so. It's a disease of the mind.
And so...
But doesn't your mind change physically?
Hold on. Okay. So you could have diabetes, you could have cancer, you could have all of these different diseases, right? There's a proper treatment to address that disease. So you can debate that if you have certain people with certain diabetes, right, level of diabetes, type A, right? Like
excuse me.
If you you can change your diet and choose to live a healthier lifestyle, and you can get rid of diabetes.
Right.
It's proven. So you could literally, by making better decisions, you can get rid of a disease.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing is true with addiction, right? If you get the right professional help and you're given the right tools, you can address your addiction and you can continue to be on your journey for recovery for the rest of your life. If you suffer with depression, right? You never self-diagnose that shit, right? You don't sit at home and go to YouTube and try to figure out how to cure your depression. You go see an expert, a professional in that space who can provide you with the tools. Every person is different, and I think it's such an incredible message to empower people to accept that as a disease so that you know you need treatment, right? To not call it a disease is to say that you can self-heal and that you can somehow address it on your own, and that it is to debate the idea that you can somehow willpower it out of your life.
People have done that before.
No doubt.
Right.
Very fortunate.
You're making a very good point, Frank.
Very fortunate, right?
You're making a very good point.
The odds, as you just stated, 10 people you were in treatment with all died, right? And I can tell you that number is drastically higher on a daily basis across the United States, right? On two sides, right? Like we also, I co-host on a veterans-based podcast, right? They have the number 22 there that they talk about all the time. House Resolution number 22 is focused on PTSD. Imagine if they didn't reference that as a disease, as a mental illness. Imagine if we just said, nah, man, you can get over that shit. You can get, right? 22 veterans in the United States, based on House Resolution 22 veterans in the United States commit suicide every single day. That number is way higher, right? That's a mental illness that is a disease, PTSD. It's not something that they were born with. It's not something that they came into. It could have been trauma caused. Same thing with addiction. It's the byproduct of something, but it is a disease. I appreciate it that way. I look at it that way now and embrace it as that. And I think that a lot of people probably have that and don't realize that they have that in some capacity, whether it's gambling, sex, drugs, food, you name it, right? It's interesting because you talked about how you had already some of those things when you were a kid.
Yeah.
The way you collected everything. It's a bit of an OCD thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I also am very much like that, right? When I go in and I start collecting something, my grandfather was a big collector. He couldn't just have like a few of something. Once he was like, well, this is it, boom, we had to have it all.
That's the journey, baby.
And so there's something about that you got to get the right tools.
I used to collect drugs. I used to collect drugs.
There you have it, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, and for me, right, like my relationship with food was about, I'm going to go out and we talked about this on your show, right? It was when I was a kid, mom hiding stuff, right? I'm not blaming her. I understand it. But what transpires when I got older, right? Well, I'm an adult. I can have whatever I want. I'm going to go buy whatever I want now, and I'm going to eat whatever I want. So for me, it was, I'm going to go to every steakhouse. I'm going to have all these. I'm going to do the tomahawk over here. I'm going to do this ridiculous thing over here, right? And I'm somehow like obsessing over like, oh, hey, I want to go to this other restaurant. We're a foodie. I'm going to go try. I saw this food truck. We're going to try that. Like that became a part of my fun culture.
Food to you was drugs to me.
No doubt.
100%.
I'm not afraid to admit that today. I
was the same way with the food. I turned into that I turned into a food addict after I got sober. You know
and that's the thing, trading one for the other. I mean, that makes sense on why you said you put on so much weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad that we were able to have that conversation.
I never looked at it. You explained it to me because I told you when I first heard it, I wasn't in the right frame of mind for weeks. I was on detox meds for 3 weeks there.
Yeah.
Without the Xanax I was on. I remember asking, like, hey, I haven't gone out for an AA meeting yet. Oh, let me find out why. Oh, because you're still on detox meds. I'm like, the first week I passed out everywhere but nighttime.
Sure.
Nighttime would come, arms were flaring, I'm crying,
tough
I'm
time.
showering. But the daytime I'd be passing out everywhere. So it was so hard. And you asked me why I was treatment. I have friends that were in treatment 9, 10 times, and they finally got sober. Other friends, they died.
Recidivism rates are incredibly high. I think the last I saw, it is that somebody has to go to treatment 7 times before the light switch goes off for them.
Let's touch on that for a quick second, then we'll get to the food. All right. I never had anybody explain the disease that to me. I always looked at it as a cop-out. Like, you're making an excuse for me. But if you want to look at it as a way to get to if I heard you right saying it's the way I interpreted it, I could be wrong. It's a way to get through to somebody to let them know that you could get help. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
if you have diabetes,
yeah,
you're not going to not go get medicine.
right.
If
somebody said, "Oh, you
have cancer,
you just knock that out yourself, no problem."
Well,
it's a disease. Instead of it's a disease, you need some help. You could fix that. There's a cure for that.
Yes.
All right, I look at that. I can look at it that way.
You need your medication might be therapy, treatment, whatever, right? You need tools to address it.
I could look at it that way. I always looked at it as I'm not fully on. I get what it makes a lot of sense to me.
But families need to understand that too.
That's a good point.
Because if families can't embrace it as a disease, then they'll find it incredibly difficult to reconnect.
Now, my mother and my aunt did Al-Anon. They understood a lot what I was going through.
And Al-Anon will tell everybody that this is a disease and you have to appreciate what that is so that way you can help them get better and provide them the support system that they need when they get out of treatment, right? All of that was foreign to me, right? I had friends that went to treatment. I know people who've died from overdose that were friends, right? That shit's not normal. So I will be the person today who I will not have any problem sitting here right now. And I don't, if I've upset anybody, I actually don't care, because where I am now and my understanding around this subject matter in particularly, I've worked with enough experts in the space. I've been in the space for over 10 years. I've interviewed some of the legends in the space that people look up to from all around the country. I've traveled around the country dealing with some people within this space. I was literally in Florida in the midst of their crisis.
Yeah.
Right. I sat at a state attorney at the state attorney's. He called this conference together to talk about the fraud and to bring awareness to what was happening in that space. I mean, I'm ingrained in that space now. So I've become extraordinarily passionate about it. I want to be able to help people. It's hard sometimes because in that space in particular, if you're not somebody who's gone through drug and alcohol addiction, sometimes there's a disconnect because they go, what do you know? Right. And I'm not in the therapeutic side of it. I'm not in the treatment side of it. I'm not the clinician or a tech. I'm a guy who understands that so that I could help spread the word and create awareness. Obviously, that's what we do with ConversionWorx, but I also co-host a podcast on that side called On the Bright Side. We haven't released it yet. We're building up our episodes.
Yeah.
But the conversation is very much so around a lot of this subject matter. You
dealt with your addiction though, Frank.
And that's the thing. So in my own way, I would say that, maybe it wasn't, my substance was food.
I mean, my substance was fucking pills.
Yeah.
Someone else was alcohol.
Yeah.
It's still something that's harming you and you can't stop doing it.
And it takes a lot for me to say, like, it's even a weird realization right now as we're talking, because this is still relatively new for me. I feel that if I had not been around so many people in the drug and alcohol space, I don't know that I would have been able to do what I've done on my own journey now. They gave me the tools.
I get that.
I could literally think about my own health journey and look at some of the stories I've heard, the talking to different clinicians in that space, and I could immediately associate it with my behavior with food and what I was doing. So I could look at that and say, I've got to be conscious about this. This is what I'm making this decision, right? I got to a point, I was over 500 pounds and I'm lugging around weight. I'm inflamed. I could like,
that was your rock bottom. We said that on my show.
Right? Yeah. And if you want to hear that story, please go to that episode on Food Fight, because that's the first time I've ever publicly opened up and told my whole entire story.
That was a great story. That's why we had to stop short. I had to go to work, and I mean, I would talk forever.
Yeah, well,
we got to continue it now. So
I'm glad that I was able to do that, and I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me for doing that, because that I did. I went home and you know, I'm not afraid to admit, man, I got a little emotional that evening, because I was like, because my wife, all she did was, I said, oh yeah, this is what I did today, and she was like, how did that make you feel? Right? And it's weird because she's not a therapist. But that's the, you know,
I like that.
But she asked that question. She's like, and how did that make you feel? And then I just sat back and had this like weird like opportunity to kind of reflect on that. And I was like, wow.
This is the time of year where I reflect on what happened to me. May, because May's coming, then June's coming. June's when everything happened. It'll be 10 years. Think about that. 2015, man. It's fucking incredible.
10 years, bro.
And
that's awesome.
You asked me in the beginning of this episode what I want to get more out of the Food Fight podcast, what kind of direction I go. Yeah. I wanted to start a second podcast in my apartment when I was doing the Food Fight in there, the Fight for Life podcast. So there's the food part of my life, and there's the fight part of my life. Now there's two fights. There's, you know, my MMA fighting, and there's also my fight for my actual fucking life, which was the hardest fight ever. Yeah. And those are stories that I want to hear. If we could bring food and fight together, I mean, it's just a really good mix. It's my life.
Well, you had it.
I find the way Russ,
Aldi got right.
You were part of that, and I have other people, and there's going to be so many more stories with that too. Everybody's fighting for something. I want to get into every guest I have.
You talked to Jess from.
I always say it wrong. Bella.
Yeah.
So, huh?
Batelli's Villa.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, Jessica. Yes. I remember
threw me off.
I remember telling her, I go, I'm an idiot when it comes to some names.
Her story's incredible.
Amazing.
And she was a guest here.
You told me that,
but did you have her?
I had her guest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's an incredible story.
Unbelievable. But that's the thing. She's courageous to tell that story. Yeah. Because somebody else might duck their head down and be like ashamed of that. But you know what? Like,
people need to hear it.
You strap that on and you be like, no, this is what I've overcome. This is where I'm at.
Whether it's an addiction story or something, every guest that I have on my show, they fought for something in their life, and that's what I'm going to talk about more.
I love that, man.
Forget, their business, of course, just like they get to promote their business, what they did for their restaurant, or for if they're a big foodie in the area, right? But somewhere in their lives, unless everything was great, God bless them if there was, growing up, but everybody fought for something. Yeah. And there's a few people that, there's some people that, get things handed them, all that kind of stuff, but most of them are...
You have some generational businesses.
That's tough subject.
But even those people have their challenges.
They're fighting.
There's something.
Everybody's fighting for something, and I want to bring that out of every episode, every guest that I have.
Yeah,
that's where I wanted to go to. Plus, it's my way of staying connected in the restaurant world without working in the restaurant, because it's one of the hardest fucking jobs there is.
Well, so tell me a little bit about, so you make this decision that I'm going to do this, right? Well,
the food page in general?
Just, somewhere, somehow, the switch goes off on you and you go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this podcast, or I'm going to do the food fight. Like, you're thinking about, like, what direction am I going and what am I doing? Like, you're not a guy who was on social making videos before, right?
So what happened with the social media was, all right, I started taking pictures when I moved to Kingston. They built that Pizza Hut Express. Oh,
over in 44. Right before
Kingston,
44.
Right in Kingston.
Yeah, across from where Cosmos was.
Yes, the plaza. I live around the block. By Something Special. You ever eat there?
The little place behind Abe's.
Yeah, Something Special.
Yeah,
excellent food.
Yeah.
Shout out to
excellent
them.
food is right.
Excellent food. And also, shout out to Abe's Kingston, my first ever Abe's experience.
All
right.
Who doesn't love Abe's?
Yeah, my first ever Abe's experience.
Although I gotta say, I grew up. This is for those who debate the difference.
Sure.
My grandfather, he took me to Ferris's all the time.
I had Ferris's too. They were good.
I love Ferris's.
Abe's Barney Street was better.
Ferris's to me is more about
Nostalgia.
Ferris's is more about what that reminds me
I
of
understand.
and my experience with my grandfather.
Yeah.
That's my loyalty to them for that reason. If you blind tested me and if I was from out of town and you brought me in,
Yeah.
no lie, I'd probably root for the Abes.
I'm going on record right now. As of the 10 hot dogs I've done so far, all the motherfuckers were right. As of right now, the only one I think about first is Abe's Main Street. I'm sorry, Kingston and Barney's. You guys are very good. You're better than Ferris.
Abe's got a little snap.
That's what I'm talking about. The hot dog itself was the best part.
What'd you get to drink with your hot dog?
Don't say chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk.
It's disgusting, Frank.
No, it's
We're
not.
done. We're done. We're done. We're done. You're
I'm
not
a
alone.
chocolate milk guy, man.
I am. Oh, God damn it. I am the minority when it comes to hot dogs and chocolate milk in this area. I think you're all disgusting.
Well, whatever.
You fucking need rehab for that.
I mean, if I kept it up, probably. But it was one of those things. But I'll
My
tell
buddy
you
Mike
this.
did the same thing. He did the same thing in front of me.
Well,
No chocolate.
there's 3 ingredients, by the way. It's not just hot dogs and chocolate milk. There's 3 ingredients that you need. And they have to be together. This is your lunch.
I know the third one is.
This is chocolate milk, hot dog, barbecue Middlesworth.
I know.
There's your
I know.
trio.
It's the trio of hell.
Whatever. It was trio of heaven when I was eating it.
I'm sure it was.
Man, yeah.
So,
And it's by the way, the only way was dogs with everything, cheese added.
yeah. Oh God, Mike, I can see the cold American. No. Anyways, cold. Oh, the American cheese on a hot dog is disgusting. My buddy Mike just sent me a picture of that. It would look so gross. So let's get out the hot dogs and the cheese and the butter.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
here you are, right? You said Pizza Hut opened up.
So I was walking around the block. I would go for my walks or my runs, and I'm like, "This Pizza Hut's right here. I'm like, what the hell? Why aren't they opening up?" Right? Took a picture, posted it on Facebook. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on with this place?" Right? Got some feedback. Did it again. Got some feedback. Did it again. Got some
Wait,
feedback.
you were just asking what's going on?
I was
because
just
you didn't know what they were building in there.
I was asking why isn't it open yet? The signs are up.
Oh, gotcha.
Nothing's in there. I would get closer, see that there's nothing even in there. Right? I posted 3 pictures. No, food page didn't even exist yet. All right. Me posting heavily on social media never existed yet. I never made a reel yet. Right. So, with that being said, I remember Mike Pontano reached out to me.
Tuxedo Mike.
Tuxedo Junction, Tuxedo Mike. I just saw him doing an ad for his dry clean. They're getting ready for prom season.
Mike's a good dude.
Yeah, Mike's great. I reached out to him. I haven't talked to him in a little while. I reached out, told him that we were working together. He's like, "Oh, that's great. Frank's a good guy." That was nice.
I like Mike.
That was nice. I'm gonna go see him. I'm gonna get a refresh on my jacket. Right? I bought that jacket off of him.
Nice.
Funny story. I go, Mike. I've been to like 4 Goodwill so far. I cannot find a red blazer. He goes, "You fucking kidding me?" I go, "Oh, wait." He goes, "Are you fucking joking?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I had some fucking guy ask me to order him a red blazer. He never picked it up. It's yours if you want it."
Oh,
But
that's
But it's one of
crazy.
the longer ones.
Oh,
so I went. I picked it up. I got it
Tailored.
I got it tailored. My buddy Johnny Egg White. That's his nickname.
Johnny Egg White.
Johnny Egg White. Shout out to Johnny Egg White. I trained with him at the Dunmore gym.
No doubt he's from All Forge.
He's from Scranton.
Everybody's got a nickname.
He's not. He's
Yeah,
not.
but you-
He's not from
you.
OIM. So he bought me that.
Jimmy Pancakes.
He bought me the pizza patch that was on there.
Okay.
I go, I'm gonna put this on a red blazer.
Yeah.
So you got the whole blazer thing started, right?
Nice.
So pictures of Pizza Hut. Mike got me in touch with the owner. So now I'm making videos of it. And then they finally opened. By then I had the food page going.
What
So-
now? Talk to me a little bit, because right there, right, you're about to be on camera. You're about.
I
to
was
do this.
sweating. I was sweating.
Yeah.
I was sweating just taking a picture of the Pizza Hut
It's
in
weird,
an empty
right?
parking lot in the middle of the morning with nobody watching me.
And it's weird.
I started this. I walked around the block twice just to take a photo.
How many times did you do this? Tell me this. How many times did you do this? Hey, what's up, everybody? Fuck.
Yep.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Now
Right?
he just, now he just
Like
keep,
10
now,
times,
Now,
right?
now he just keep it rolling.
Yeah,
I
you
knock,
just-
I knock shit out in one take now, baby. You know.
Oh, expert. All right.
So it's like I remember. Right. Oh God, sweating, taking a picture, doing this. I'm like, what am I doing? Right. But then I got more used to it.
Yeah.
Then I started making Then I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a food page where people could make their own comments and post their own pictures. Well, it turned out I made the wrong page. I made a business page instead of a public form page, right?
Yep.
I was like, oh, what the fuck's going on here? Right? So I'm like, oh, all right.
It's not going to reach anybody.
I'm like, all right, screw it. I'll just start posting pictures of food myself and have people comment on it, right? So started doing that, and you get 1 or 2 people, you get some followers. I didn't really know what was going on. Then I had this reel. I got put into this reel bonus program on Facebook before Facebook started monetizing people. So about 3 years ago. So I had this reel that was on there. I was making a couple of dollars off of a few other ones, but then I had one from jiu-jitsu. It went viral, 2 million views. I made $1,000 off of it.
Wow.
That's when Facebook was pumping money out in the beginning. I was like, wow, this is pretty fucking cool. So I tried doing it more. I'm like, I want to make a food page. So I made the food page. So I was doing the Pizza Hut stuff. Then I got in touch with the owner, and then the Pizza Hut, that was I bought the first pizza from there and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And I was doing other pizza reviews. I remember I wasn't eating the pizza on the camera.
All of a sudden, you're a content creator.
So now all of a sudden I'm making more. I'm learning how the ins and outs, and I'm doing this, doing that.
How much time has passed by here?
It was probably a few months, 3 or 4 months. Since creation of me taking that picture, me producing the food page. You know what I mean? That's what that went. And
at some point, you come up with this concept for the podcast, though.
Oh, for the podcast. So now we're going into. So it's been a year, and it's been a year since the podcast came out.
Year of running on social, doing your videos.
So it's been a year, and then last probably about this April 11th was the inaugural episode of me and Jim. So we recorded that in March. So
Jim Mirabelli.
Yeah.
Okay.
We recorded our episode in February. We recorded about 6 episodes before we released the first episode. So February, about a year or so of doing social media. My food page just hit a 2-year anniversary, but it wasn't always DiMattia's food. It was called DiMattia's NEPA food review page.
Okay.
That was the original name, but I wanted to get away from the NEPA. So I met with Jim Mirabelli and a few other guys. We got together, and I was like, I want to get rid of the NEPA. Jim's the one that said, fine, how about food fight? I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So I turned the whole thing, turned into food fight. But now I got a position, I got an opportunity. I was on the podcast called On the Stacks once, and I got an opportunity to speak at Wilkes University. They saw my podcast about my recovery story that you just heard today. They wanted me to tell that story in front of lawyers, doctors, rehab people, and lawyers, and people that were there for continuing education. It was a pain and addiction summit. They always finished off the day with a story. She goes, I want to finish off with people. I want them to hear that what they do works.
Yeah.
And I was able to tell them that story. And then when I was leaving, Bill Corcoran asked me if I wanted to do, I go, who is this Will guy in your office right now doing this podcast? This Will Ramsey, this lead. He goes, oh, he's an in-the-house podcast. We're trying to do some more. I go, oh, I would love to do a food fight podcast. And then, bam, next thing I know, he's like, okay, maybe in January we'll start it. Well, that didn't make it to January. We went right into it. And I met with them. We had a meeting. We had the vision of it. I told them what I wanted. Almost got there. And then we started doing episodes. And then we did about 37 recordings.
Yeah.
And then I decided it was just time to go on my own and do it myself. And I wanted the show to go in the direction that I wanted to go into. And I don't want anybody telling me otherwise.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Now, when I say that, I say that respectfully. I'm always open to changing things around. Open to suggestions, all that kind of stuff. But there's the vision that I have.
Vision, yeah.
The vision that I have, and it's my show. I'm the host, and that's it. I want to go down my road, and I don't want anybody blocking it.
Yeah.
But there's always
then you so after that, you leave that studio, and then you set up shop
in my kitchen.
I think you was gonna say you set up shop in your kitchen.
It turned out the whole year I was training with next to my buddy Mike Rivera at Good Tree MMA Wilkes-Barre, who's my age, a little younger than me, a veteran, you know what I mean? He fought in Iraq. He'd been through it, you know what I mean? Great guy. He found jiu-jitsu. I signed him up, and it changed his life like it changed my life.
That's great.
And I was bullshitting with him, saying, like, listen, I'm not like in the direction everything's going. I kind of want to maybe do it myself or go on my own. But I don't know how to do the videos to that extent. I want them to look exactly like that. He goes, Brian, I know how to do that. I went to school to be a videographer.
Yeah.
And I was like, no shit. He goes, yeah, we could do that. So we got together. He came over. We realized what we needed. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. I made my decision to leave. We had a little bit of I still had 3 episodes to come out that were recorded. So when I left, there were my episodes. You know, I paid for it, all the editing. It was my property. So I got all the episodes, got all the audio files, everything. And I just released the last they released the last couple episodes, and they were still had to do that. That gave me enough time to get things set up. I think I had a week in between, and then me and Mike started recording episodes. And it was in my kitchen. We built the set, the brick wall. Talk about not knowing what the fuck you were doing. But I kind of like a little bit of a crash course. But he did the cameras. He taught me the cameras, and we recorded 10 episodes together. And then he wasn't having fun doing it anymore. We talked about it. We argued about it. We went to Florida. We had a big tournament with the Disney World. And when we came back, he's like, Brian, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm just having fun. And it basically came down to that. I was like, all right, I respect that. We already invested in the equipment. He let me keep the equipment because whatever, we had sponsorship money that we had to do that kind of stuff, whatever, right? So I was like, so I'm sitting here. I'm like, I can't do these fucking videos. This Premiere Pro, this is insane. I don't know what the hell's going on. This is different than InShot on my phone. Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's a whole other ballgame.
I couldn't learn it. Now, could I learn it? Sure, in time with the right teachers. But I couldn't learn it to where I needed it to be in the time I needed to be in.
Right.
And then next thing I know, I came through your doors.
Whammo.
Boom. Like Emerald would say, bam.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Me too.
Yeah, because this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But I love the
Look at
set.
the set back there.
Yeah, the set looks great.
$1 million. You know what?
Team did a great job.
I got that brick wall I always wanted that didn't involve my kitchen. You know what I mean?
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really thrilled with the team here. I think they did an excellent job at putting the whole set together. I'm really glad with the feedback we've gotten so far from you and from Rinaldi when he came in, Russ, and then I don't know. I didn't get to hear what Jim had to say today, but did he give good feedback?
Oh, everyone that's came in here so far.
That's awesome.
Been great. It's been great.
Well, as we talk about what the future has in store. Like what is the vision? Like where do you want to go with this?
In general, with everything I got going on, or specifically the podcast?
I mean, you can talk about everything. Like what because this is where you're at in your life right now. So, you're doing jiu-jitsu, right? I work down a Good Tree MMA, Wilkes-Barre. I'm not official. I guess like you could say I do manage the gym. I handle all the accounts. I'm in charge of signing up new members, showing them around the gym. I'm also a trainer. I teach the kids class there. I'm in line to get my purple belt, and just May 24th is our promotions for clothes. So that's going to take my career in MMA to another level. I could do private lessons. I'll be an official instructor for the adults, all that kind of stuff. So that's like my title. I'm looking forward to doing that. Nice. It's not going to be a pay raise. It's going to be more work, but I'm looking forward to it. Sure.
Our private lessons, that's great. That's a good way to make some extra cash on a weekend, So career-wise, that's what I'm looking to do, and it's such a great job and rewarding job that allows me to do this stuff. Allows me to go to restaurants in afternoons, the weekends. I used to work weekends my whole life. Restaurant business,
yeah.
I was off Monday, Tuesdays. Casino business, off Monday, Tuesdays, working every single fucking weekend. Never getting days off, right? Future for the my food page, the momentum's going. I went from, I got 10,000 followers in 2 years. I got 1,500 followers in 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So the food page is taken off. My TikTok page blew up like a volcano. Hundreds of thousands of views on all my videos. 60,000 views on people. It's really nice. It's funny. When I started DiMattia's food fight, the first reel I ever made was like a newscast, and I'm back with doing the microphones and talking on the camera.
Yeah.
I really enjoy doing it. Adds more depth to it.
Yeah.
And I'm letting the camera roll. I'm like, let it roll. We get some funny outtakes.
Absolutely.
Let it keep rolling. Like I told Brian today, the video today, let's just keep it rolling. For a walk out here and just keep it rolling. You never know what you're going to miss.
Yeah.
And for the food fight podcast, the direction we just talked about today, learning not just about their restaurant business or their food page or whatever they got going on.
But what's their fight?
Right. What's their fight in life?
Yeah.
I combine that other thing I wanted to do all in this one set and get some real in-depth conversations and really get to know people that want to open up about it. That's the future of that. I want to bring more awareness to other great food in our area and beyond, other great businesses, and help people understand that when you go out to dinner to a family-owned restaurant or even a chain restaurant, people say, "Oh, I like Texas Roadhouse." People are all like, "Oh, fuck that place. You go somewhere local, support local." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't realize that Texas Roadhouse bust in other workers from a different country or from a different state because they're all local workers that work probably next to you, probably are your neighbors that rely on people from the area to go there, spend money, and tip them. So they rely on us just as much as the mom and pop shops do. So, you know, the difference between the two is financial, obviously. You know, you have $1 billion corporations behind some of those restaurants.
Some of them, yeah.
And the mom and pops across the parking lot here. You got Legends across the street, right?
Yeah.
The restaurants.
But here's the thing, too. Like, look beyond the logo because sometimes, albeit.
Local franchise owners.
Well, you got, like the Mets Culinary Group.
Yeah, I used to work for the Mets. Yeah.
They've got restaurants throughout the area, but
Exactly.
these guys they're right from Dallas.
Yeah, they're all locally owned restaurants, locally owned businesses,
Yeah.
even if they're chains. These are people.
You're still supporting local.
It's the employees as well. Like this once in a while, I would bash McDonald's, but I wouldn't say where I was at. It's just Big Mac in general. This fucking Whopper sucks today.
Right.
The thing about their businesses are set up for success, for consistency. And if that Whopper tastes like shit, lazy staff. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Bad management. Make that Whopper taste the way it's supposed to be. There's a fucking blueprint.
Yeah.
All the tools are there. You know, if you put together a Lego set and you put together a pirate ship and turned into a rocket ship, you did something fucking wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's all about giving back to the community that gives back to us every single day. Just like this podcast itself. It's your way to give back to the community.
Yep.
You're giving me another platform to talk about my other platforms.
Well, because, I think you've made it a point, just like I have, that when somebody is on, it's about their story.
Mm-hmm.
So how often do you get to tell your story?
Yeah.
You get to interject in little pieces here and there, but this is why I love this platform, because you get to come on here, I went on yours, and we get to tell each other's stories. It gets it gets our listeners, our viewers, a little bit more of an in-depth, right? And it gets them behind the scenes a little bit, because who are we? And that's how I think that everybody should respect. I've told this story 1,000 times, but when you go into a local business, when you say, "Oh, I'm supporting local," well, what does that mean to you? Like, do you really know who that is you're giving your business to?
That's we touched on that.
Yeah. It's this idea that, I mean, I could, I've said this tons of times. There are some real shitbags that are out there. I will not give them my business. I will not give them my money. I will not give them my support. Right. And unfortunately, they're local businesses, right? But they're in it for the wrong reason, and they don't care about their customers. They don't care about their people. They care about dollars. They care about, whatever it is that greed that drives them. That's what they care about. And for that, those people will never volunteer to be on here because they know that they'll get outed.
Yeah.
Right. And this is not what this is about. This is not about the outing of people, but here's something really incredible, right? Somebody else who masks themselves and who hasn't connected with vulnerability and hasn't built an entire story and forward momentum off of the thing that most people would and should be ashamed of, right? Instead, and I maybe let me reword that. Not should be ashamed of. Most people would be ashamed of. Instead, you're here telling a story and saying, "Yeah, I did all that. Yeah, no, I fucked my life up." Right?
Yeah.
And instead of hiding behind the shadows about who you were, you're like, no, that's who I was, and it's really important that I connect with that, because today I am who I am because of where I've worked my ass off to get to, and I'm not even where I want to be yet. I'm continuing to work there.
I feel when I left the casino business, which was a fun job, but day shift gave me more of a social life, but I also turned into a robot there.
Yeah.
I dealt with the same 8, 9.
How many D-gens did you see there?
When I dealt craps, we opened the table up at 8:30 in the morning. The 8 people who are retired, who play every day, they're there. Same conversations. They throw the money on the table the same way. They make the same bets. And I was fine. I used to get up in the morning in a good mood. I go lift. I come home. I get ready for work. I go bullshit in the cafeteria with the team. We go out there, and then we open the table up for bullshit. And as soon as somebody threw the money down the table, I was like, fuck, here we go. 8 hours of the same bullshit.
Yep.
And craps is a art form to deal. It's a hard game to deal. It's a fun game to deal when I wasn't good at it at first, but I became a really, really effective and great craps dealer. It took years to perfect that art, right? And I was still getting better and better every day. But when I switched over from night shift was a random, there's a whole, people were just coming and playing.
What's the biggest run you've ever seen anybody go on?
Hour and a half. It was fucking insane.
What did that amount out?
There were a lot of weaker players playing, but the guy rolling, he won about $15,000. If he was betting more, he would have won more. But just the idea of watching one person roll the dice for an hour and a half without crazy center action to hold the dice up, because you can get center action going. People don't know that there's center bets. You know, like give me $10 on snake eyes or $10 on 12, right? That takes time to set up. Now, when the table's crazy, you could have 2 minutes of that. So that eats into the time of the dice. But it was just a constant flow. And it was insane. I think the ultimate record is like 3 hours in Atlantic City, something like that, maybe longer.
I think it's way over.
I think it's 4 hours.
There was a lady at Borgata.
At Borgata, I think it's 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Are we talking about the same one?
She made no money.
Well, because they shut the table down on her, right? That was crazy. Do you know who Phil Ivey is?
Yeah.
I watched.
Poker player Ivey guy.
Yep. I watched Phil Ivey at Harrah's.
Yeah.
The WSOP was there for the circuit events. And I watched him drop $1 million, throwing $5,000 chips out left and right. I watched him drop $1 million. I stood there, watched for the full hour. He lost $1 million at that table, and then it was crazy because they published on the on his forum. He left there, took out a marker over at Trop, pulled out $1 million marker there. Ran it up to like 2.5 mil, paid off his Harrah's, and then flew out to Vegas. And then I don't whatever, but he pulled out another marker and went up another 3 mil on craps out there, all within a 24-hour span.
That's insane. Craps,
insane.
It's a reason why I don't play craps regularly, because I never played craps as a dealer. I dealt for years. I never played the game in a gambling setting before, and I never understood why the same people always would come back and play all the fucking time, and they loved it. I never understood it until I threw the dice once. I finally played for the first time.
You were like, whoo!
I bought in. I had pit in my belly. I was nervous to play. I threw the dice. I was like, this is why they fucking love it.
Yeah.
I go play right now. I don't play. I play once in a while. Tell you what, I quit the casino, and when I quit a couple of years ago, I would go back, and every once in a while I would play, only if there weren't shitbags at the table. And if other shitbags, you know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wouldn't play at the time. I can't gamble with those people. Maybe if one side was okay, I would go gamble with them. Or maybe if I saw Mike playing, I would go stand next to him. I would bullshit with him, right? But I never went in there looking for satisfaction on some of those players, word-wise or whatever, right? But they would just open the door for me, bro. I would stand there, and this one fucking guy would be like, oh, what are you doing here on the other side of the table? I go, and he make a comment. He goes, either you're going to play or not. I go, look, and I'd be like, I'm not going to fucking play. That's like, you're never going to fucking tip. And then I'd be like, you never. Why are you picking on me? I go, why? Because I'm picking on you because you picked on me for 8 years. I go, you busted our balls. You make us work. Turn it off. Turn it on. Pick my bets on. Pick my bets on. Blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. That's why I'm busting the fucking balls. You know what I mean? Great satisfaction. There's one guy used to ash on this. This one guy used to play video poker, and he would ash on a video blackjack.
Oh,
I'm dealing the cards there. He'd be ashing on the floor.
Oh.
I go, excuse me. He goes, well, there's no ashtrays. I go, what does that fucking mean? Right? I used to put ashtrays underneath people. I'd be walking on break. People would be ashing on the floor playing slots. I would get an ashtray, put it on the floor. I'd be like, oh, there you go. What's that for? You're asking, oh, I wasn't, right? So the same guy, when I went back to work, I wasn't working anymore. He goes, oh, you're not working today? I go, I don't work here anymore, motherfucker. I go, you still ashing on the floor? You scumbag? What's your house look like? You get up and walk away. Don't give me the door. I don't go in there looking for it, but I got some satisfaction on some of the trash players.
You feeling better?
Yeah.
Get it out a little bit?
I got it out.
All right, man. No, that's good.
There's still some people I want to tell off too.
Yeah.
Well, there was one doctor. He won. This is when I quit the casino. Christmas morning, this scumbag doctor was playing as a dentist who didn't work on his teeth. He worked on everybody else's, I guess. But he was a piece of shit. A high roller. They did everything for him, right? And he would just never tip us, maybe $10, but he won 10 grand. Give us $10, wouldn't install. Christmas morning, only one plane, won about 4 grand. Didn't tip us at all, right? I quit 2 days later. I went back a few weeks later. I gave up my gaming license. I wanted to gamble. I was like, I'm just going to play, right? He goes, oh, what's going on? You don't work here? I go, fuck you. And I go, you're a piece of fucking shit. You're the reason I quit. I'm in the corner. He's on the other side. I go, you're the reason I quit. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you're not the reason I quit, but you're not tipping us on Christmas morning when you won that whole wad? What'd you think? It was fucking charity for us to work you? I couldn't stand. He left. He took his money and he's left. I wanted to clothesline him. Besides that, it was a fun job. I used to fuck with people playing blackjack. I can talk about it now.
Well, I mean,
Curious?
You can't sort of.
You curious though?
I mean, I gotta know how you.
I didn't cheat anybody.
Well, yeah, I want to know how you.
I would accidentally knock a shoe on the ground during a hot shoe.
Oh my God!
Only if the whole table was being trash.
You could get murdered for that.
If there was one normal player, I would never do that, whether they're tipping me or not. They were nice. I respected their game, and that was it. But the trash bag players, the ones that never tipped, tell me to go fuck myself. These 3 guys were like, oh, looks like you're wearing floaties underneath your shirt there because of my muscles. I'm like, you guys look like you guys can't even float in a fucking pool. You know what I mean? And shit like that. But then all of a sudden they're on a hot shoe and they're not tipping it out. They're being dicks. Oh, man, the fucking shoe, the cards are all over the place.
Sorry, guys. Reshuffle.
Or put a card upside down on the wrong way in the automatic shufflers. So one card comes out wrong. Hey, accidents happen. I didn't do it on purpose, you know. I would never purposely do that, you know.
I mean,
you
got to take care of your waiters, your waitresses, anybody who's in a service-based position. I mean, take care of them.
There was a lot. I dealt with a lot of trash bags in the casino business. Players, people. You mix in alcohol and money. I watched some girl knock a guy clean out. She warned him, though. Don't go back to the ATM machine. He did.
I watched a Chinese guy stand up at a poker table and just straight up without any, like he said nothing. He just stood up at the poker table and punched this Russian dude right in the face. The guy went to bed right there. Just the whole it happened so quick because the Russian guy was talking all this shit. And it was at a tournament it was back when they were doing tournaments of Showboat. And I was at the Showboat. And this guy just stood up and just jacked this Russian guy right in the face. And there was nothing said after that. He just went to sleep. And apparently the Chinese dude was like hooked up locally. So when he stood up, no security bothered him or anything like that. He just put his jacket on and calmly strolled out. And I was like, I remember I was like, how the hell did that just happen? And they were like, yeah, he's nobody's going to bother with him. He's
squared away.
Nobody's going to bother with him. And I was like, wow.
It was a fun job. When I got in trouble, they held my job for 9 months. I went back, and they didn't give me any problems.
That's cool.
Part of it was the law, I think, but they could have easily not taken me back, found a way to get rid of me, you know, but they didn't. And Judge Barace let me go back. You know Stacy and John Knowles?
Oh, yeah.
So Stacy was my caseworker.
Okay.
And she was in favor of me going back to the casino to work. And so was my PO, Kevin. You know what I mean? If those two weren't cool with that, Judge Barace wouldn't have been on board. Yeah. He wasn't on board at first, but they got to know me. I still had to do my DAS and get my gaming license back. Went to Harrisburg in front of the gaming board. Had to tell them what I did. And they gave me my gaming license back.
That's cool.
So things started to line up. Another reason why I wanted to stay sober. Plus, if I went back to that life, I would have spit in everybody's face that tried to help me. And I wasn't about that anymore. The key thing too, if anyone takes away anything from this episode when it comes to your addiction or making changes in your life, those changes won't happen unless you really want to do it.
Yeah, you have to be willing.
There's a difference. Oh yeah, I want to do that. No, there's like, oh, I want to do that. Then there's, I want to fucking
I have to do that.
I have to make this change in my life right now. It has to start right now.
Yep.
It's not going to be easy. But as long as I start moving forward 2 steps, there's going to be a step back. If we do 2 steps forward every single time, those steps back, we're always going to stay ahead.
And it's not a quick fix.
It takes time. I believe I told Russell this part, and it's one of the things I'm going to release. When I found my God moment to get back into my beliefs with that was when I got into a car accident, about 3 months being sober. I'm laying in the hospital with glass in my arm. My back was a little bit sore. Some guy ran a stop sign. I'm looking up, and I'm like, why Did he just fucking kill me? I've been a piece of shit for years. There's no reason for him to keep me alive. Why am I still here? Immediately it clicked. He kept me alive because I was wasting the life that he gave me. I was pissing it away, and now he's giving me a chance to live it again. But I had to pay my penance first. I had to pay the piper.
Buddy.
I started fires.
There's a toll.
I started fires, and now I had to put them out.
Yeah.
One fire at a time, one toll at a time. I needed to suffer, and I fucking suffered. I deserved it. But I used it to get better. I didn't wallow in it.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you just took a different way, but at the end of the day, it's that sort of hard knocks that I think makes you stronger and gives you something that somebody else just can't. You can't sign up for a school that's going to teach you that. There's no, like, that's a real life. Your story makes you very unique and makes you uniquely aware of your surroundings now. Your experiences that led you to where you are going to open up new doors, new opportunities. All sorts of things happen because you've put yourself in a position to be there now, right? Before, all doors were closed and more doors were closing. Now you're in this position where you're aware of your surroundings, you're identifying opportunities, you're thriving, you're serving a purpose. Like, all of that, man, like, that's amazing.
Yeah. I always ask God every night. I say a little prayer. And a part of it, I'm not going to share the whole thing, but part of it is, keep me on the path that you have for me and turn me away from the detours, because there's going to be detours. We're going to be on that. I have my path laid out for me. I don't know what the end of it looks like yet, right?
You don't need to.
I don't want to know what it looks like, because I have to earn it and work towards it, right?
Yeah.
But there's always going to be, like I said earlier, the devil with his fingers out with bullshit. You know what I mean? I'm nowhere near perfect, man. You know what I mean? I don't consider myself sober anymore. I smoke pot once in a while. I'm on the medical marijuana program for my body, whatever you want to call it, right?
Okay.
But it's just like how I was when I was younger, but it's different now. There's other things with CBD, all that kind of stuff. I don't take edibles before I come here, and I've been sober all day today because this is what I enjoy to do. It's when I go home, I like to smoke a little bit, maybe do a little edible and relax, and it helps my muscles. I can't take ibuprofen because of my stomach. So I was stone cold sober for 7.5 years. So it wasn't something I decided to do right outside of rehab. 7.5 years, and it was a big decision for me. And I don't talk about it a lot. I was gonna say I voiced it a few times, but it was the big decision for me to make, and I made the decision, and I'm in control of it, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And people might look at me differently and say different things, but
I don't know if they look at you differently.
I never went back into the drugs that I never took a pill. I haven't. I might have had a couple of drinks over the years here and there, but I don't. Maybe a little bit of wine here and there and that. But that took a lot of my sobriety to be strong enough to handle that, and I'm aware of that today. And that's going full circle in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I was sober. I don't consider myself
sober. Well, good
sober.
for you for being honest.
Yeah, I
right?
consider myself being sober. I do that once in a while.
I think the thing that you consciously know, right, is that you admitted before that that's a gateway.
Yeah.
So had you not been through everything that you've been through, right, you might be going down a bad path.
There's nothing more I haven't tried.
But I don't think that that's advised, right?
Oh,
nobody's going to advise that if you're in recovery that you go smoke weed.
Everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I wanted to sort of end this out with come full circle. And, you said that you had some things that you wanted to sort of maybe debate with me, respectful of Carnivore Diet, whatever.
Your energy drink that you're drinking in front of me blows my mind.
There's nothing in that necessarily that has any strong conflict with what I'm doing, other than right, the fact that it has a stevia based sweetener in it, which is that would be plant, and so it's the one thing. But you could debate and argue and say that
of course we can.
You could say that coffee is too, right? I consume no sugar. I consume no carbohydrates.
Frank, to be fully honest with you, Frank, I just love ragging on energy drinks.
Do it, right?
Just love
I will not. You won't see me consume like a Red Bull or any of this other crap that has all the chemicals and stuff in it.
Yeah.
The this is probably my one thing that I would say, and it's the brand is only because I've found that that's one of the healthier versions. Certainly, they're not endorsing anything here, but yeah, I would say that Celsius is the one thing that I would
I'm
have.
just busting your balls about that.
Yeah, but outside of that, man, like I'm curious, as we close this out, right? Like let's
talk about
have it.
Let's hear my side of the argument for the carnivore diet.
Go ahead.
Now, the thing is, you changed my mind a little bit when you said about it helped your inflammation, all that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. But you're also missing out on pizza. You're losing weight because you're in a calorie deficiency. That's the ultimate reason why you're losing weight. The 99% of the reason why you're losing weight. Not because you're just eating meat. Because you're taking in less calories than you need every day to survive, and that's why you're losing weight. And you could do that eating any type of food that you want to. Obviously, more nutritious food is going to be better because of the micronutrients and the minerals. Higher protein diet, lower carbohydrate diet is going to add more muscle, keep more muscle on your body. But to just limit yourself to one particular food, now there could be other reasons why you do that as well, including does it open up your sugar, open up your, like if I eat sugar for a couple of days in a row, cookies, fucking get crazy with cereal, right? I want that for 2 more days. I have to fight through. I got to fight through that at night. I drive past 3 Turkey Hills on the way home from the gym. I love their ice cream. I can stop and get a little pint once in a while, right? That's not too bad. But once in a while, I stop and get the Putter pecan because then I make the smaller one. I eat the whole fucking thing, right? But then I have to shut that off. You know what I mean? So I don't know if part of you doing the carnivore diet is to keep your control under you. You control everything that you're eating. Like you said, you get filled up with the protein, which I believe 100%.
Well, the fats.
The fats, 100%. That's why I'm big on the avocados and the eggs and the cheese at night. Like I'm only eating, 4 eggs, 4 ounces of ground beef, and an avocado is maybe 700 calories.
Here's my question to you, right?
Yeah.
You're referencing calories as if that really matters.
Sure it does.
So in the grand scheme of things, right, that calculation is determined by the standard American diet.
Well, no,
so when they say to you that you have to be in a caloric deficit so that you're losing weight, it's because of how your body's functioning while consuming carbohydrates and sugars in an average standard American diet. What sets the standard for what determines the caloric deficit? It's based off of the American diet.
Well, it's based off your. I mean, I'm not even. That's not even. I don't even think about that.
If you only consume protein, if you only consume protein and fat, right, calories don't matter.
So if you eat 4,000 calories,
you won't be able to.
You're dismissing the calorie part though, because if you ate 4,000 calories worth of meat and fat, you're going to gain weight.
Actually, no, because your body will not at that point, right? So here's the difference. So when you're consuming only fat and protein, right, your gut now can only consume and process what it needs to take in from a nutrient perspective. All else becomes waste. Your body, what are you storing?
Is that documented?
And in an anecdotal form, that's what they're studying
What's
now
the backup
to put
on
into.
it? There's not a lot of carnivore diet.
Well, that's the thing. So that's the ongoing.
What I'm getting at is if you're eating, so it might be harder for you to eat, say, just 2,000 calories worth of meat. But if you eat 1,000 calories worth of meat and then 1,000 calories worth of butter and everything else on there, you're still overeating calories, and that's going to get you fat.
But you can say you're overeating calories, but for the past 15 months, right, I've lost 150 pounds consuming
because you're not overeating.
I'm eating probably between 3,000 and somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000
your
calories.
Your maintenance level is probably 5,000 for your body right now.
And so the idea there is, and you're probably right because of where my weight is, right? So, but the point is that at some point you're not going to be able to consume counting calories when you're consuming sugars and carbohydrates is about trying to set boundaries for restriction, right? The idea that when you eat on a carnivore based diet, there is no calorie counting because you listen to your body and you'll stop when you won't be able to overeat. And so in a single sitting, maybe you consume all of your calories in one day, and what'll, like, according to the caloric deficit concept, right? But I will be full. So I do get satiated, and you can feel but you're not going to overeat. The steak that you started eating 10 minutes ago no longer tastes as good as it did when you first started, when you were actually hungry. So as you start to consume the food, your gut communicates with your brain clearly and says, you're done.
So let's say you're eating 4,000 calories a day, right? You lost 150 pounds in 15 months, right?
Yep.
If you lowered that down to 3,000 calories, you will lose 2 more pounds every week.
And yet at the same time, if I did that, right, then the mentality would be about restriction. Could I perpetuate weight loss? I'm not debating that caloric deficit means that because you could fast. That's the whole point of fasting.
I don't like that
right?
either.
But I'm saying fasting proves this sort of concept that you have a deficit, you're certainly going to lose weight, right? But what's interesting about that is that if your gut is not right, you can consume 4,000 calories. The difference here is, let me run these in parallel for you. Let's say that you ate 4,000 calories of protein and animal fat. Mm-hmm. Adversely, over here, you had 4,000 calories of pizza, pasta, whatever, right? Which one is your body going to store more fat from?
In the long
Think
term?
about the physiological response that you have from consuming that food. If I'm consistently eating only animal fat and protein, right, on a carnivore diet,
you'll never be bloated off of that diet.
What diet?
You'll never be bloated off the carnivore diet.
Not bloated. Just
I'm
full.
saying you won't, but you'll be extremely bloated off of the other diet.
And so when you say bloated, you mean inflammation and stuff.
Inflammation, bloated, water,
and what happens,
holding on the water weight.
What happens to your body when you experience inflammation? What happens inside your body from a food processing weight loss perspective? When you experience inflammation, right, your body understands that it's in jeopardy. So all of a sudden you have a cortisol response. Mm-hmm. When you have a cortisol response, your body goes into store mode. Mm-hmm. Let's keep ourselves safe. So the processing of the food, completely different. So, and they have run these, right? Again, these studies will come out as more time has gone past. Culturally, we've been brought up to believe that eating red meat, eating all this, animal fats, you're going to have a heart attack, so on and so forth. I've been blood tested. I've been monitored.
The government fucked us with that.
It's crazy, man, right?
It's outrageous.
But if you only present the calorie argument, I will tell you that 4,000 calories, once your gut is clean and you're actively in motion, right? For me, if I were to consume 4,000 calories of how I've been eating now, animal fat and protein, or I were to consume 4,000 calories of mixed carbohydrates, et cetera, and in your just sedentary being, right? Meaning you're not going to the gym, you're not doing anything, just sedentary. 4,000 calories of the carbohydrates and sugars and things that cause inflammation and cause cortisol response are going to force you to store more of that. So your waste output will be less. You will consume that will start to form fat storage from the carbohydrates over here, versus this 4,000 calories will get processed in a clean gut, and most of it that you do not consume will turn to waste. What's incredible is that from a protein standpoint, when those fats and proteins work together, right? Yes, I mean, your body can only consume, when you're eating carnivore diet, you can only consume, it becomes uncomfortable. And the thing is the inherent benefit of doing it is that you don't crave food. So you know when you're actually hungry and you know when you're actually satisfied. Versus eating carbohydrates and sugars, your brain is clouded. you have no idea when you're actually full. You could hear people, I could attest to this forever. You would eat a whole pizza and you'd be like, man, I don't know, I could probably do another piece, right? Consume volume-wise that same amount of beef with animal fat. You'd never make it.
All right, so those are two extremes, right? We have all meat and protein, then we got all carbohydrates, right?
Well, not all.
Well, pizza and sugar, and there's obviously protein involved with the pizza, everything like that.
Yeah.
Let's dial it back to the way I eat normally. All right. So I eat mostly protein and healthy fats.
Yep.
I eat one avocado every day. I know you don't like vegetables.
No, but avocado's a fruit.
Are fantastic.
Avocado's a fruit.
And I can eat it right out of the skin, right?
Sure.
And I never used to like them, but I eat a whole avocado. Just the micronutrients, the fiber, the fats. I eat that with dinner. I'll eat when I go home.
Yeah.
Right. But eating a mostly healthy diet, which is mostly made up of, I eat a lot of red meat. I eat a lot of chicken. I eat fish. I like all that kind of stuff, right? I try to find fresh fish. I don't like the fucking farm fish.
Wild caught,
Christ.
right?
Like the shrimps. Oh, shrimp's really cheap. Shrimp's really dirty.
Terrible.
Unless it's ocean caught,
Sure.
like Gulf shrimp, whatever, right? Whatever, right? But, but then there's that happy medium, like, I want a little bit of dessert. I like food. I want a little bit of pizza. But there's that extreme. If you eat 80% carnivore and 20% pizza and sometimes once in a while, you're still going to get those same weight loss results if those calories are the same. That's my argument.
If weight loss is the focus. And
That's not your focus yet, is it? And I remember you saying your focus
weight loss
was
is a byproduct, right? The thing is I
you
want
were feeling like shit.
I want my body to be healthy, man. I want to continue to feel good. I do not want inflammation. I don't want gut issues. I don't want skin issues. I don't want any of that, right? I want to be able to sleep. I want to be able to have brain focus throughout the day.
Have you ever tried a carnivore diet with a little bit of mixture of other foods you used to eat?
So
you haven't gotten there yet.
I won't consume carbohydrates and all that, right? Like starchy carbs, like breads, sugars,
potatoes.
And maybe eventually I would talk about that.
Say like carnivore, like steak and potatoes.
When I get to a lean body mass, right? Yeah. So 150 pounds down now.
That's awesome too, by the way. Congratulations, man.
Thanks, man. But I'm thinking about another 100 pounds, right? And I'll probably be lean because that would put me at around 250. I'll look like a machine.
Allowing yourself to lose weight slowly compared to crash diets and other bullshit is Ozempic is not doing anybody favors in the world.
No.
Listen, if you're 800 pounds and you're on death's door, okay.
Yeah.
Right? People are on Ozempic. They want to lose 10, 15 fucking pounds. They're like, oh, let me do a lifelong drug for that. Instead of just fucking eat less food and exercise a little bit more. So what I'm getting at is when I lost, I wanted to go down a weight class for a tournament. Mm-hmm. Now my friends, they crash weight, they crash diet, they water cycle, they torture themselves for a week to go depleted into the tournament.
Yeah.
I got 12 weeks. I got 12 pounds to lose. I'll lose a pound every week. And I would do that because it's nice and easy. But when I was really overweight, people calling me for personal training. I don't do it a lot for personal training, but I do train some people. It's really fit my schedule, the hours I work. But I want to lose 30 pounds this month. I could get 30 pounds off you in 3 months the right way. So here's the reason. People on Ozempic, what I'm getting at is quick shortcut. Quick, big. I want to fast. Well, Ozempic's going to starve you, hold back all your hunger, but you're not treating the fucking problem. That's like if you break your leg and then, Frank, you carry me. I break my leg and I'm like, I don't want to get a cast. Just carry me everywhere. My leg's never going to get better. It's going to get better. It's like heal like backwards or something like that.
This will sting a little bit, but it's like a heroin addict staying on Suboxone forever.
Yes, 100%. It's not made for that, but the doctors fucking love that shit.
It's like you want to get off drugs.
Yeah.
So you want to get on drugs to get off drugs.
You're better off being put in a room in a rehab with no Suboxone and getting it done right.
And that's I feel the same way. I did not want to go down that road. Here's what I will say. If somehow, some way you can't dig into yourself to be able to find some kind of nutritional journey, right? maybe that's where you start. But all along, you better be educating yourself on how you're going to then get off of that and live a normal life. Because sometimes you do, like to your point, if Carnivore Diet for me, if the change did not allow me to get rid of the inflammation and get back to being active and living my life, brother, Ozempic,
you would have quit a long time ago.
Ozempic,
That's great
Ozempic,
example, Frank. That's great.
Ozempic would have had to have been the thing to give me my life back.
Yeah.
But that cannot be your end all be all, right? Or you're just going to put all your weight back on.
You have to learn. You have to unlearn the bad habits that you learned. Why did you gain? Why are you overweight in the first place? What got you there?
Yeah.
I trained 7 ladies on Friday nights, big group. They're all friends. They're all nurses. They're all overweight. All right? Not all of them, but they're deconditioned. We came in, we work out once a week together, and then they have a home workout, but I'm helping them with everything else slowly. We're 2 months into it now. They're conditioned now to lift weights. We went from barely doing anything. Now they're running laps. Now they're doing push-ups. They're doing They lost a lot of weight. They lost weight, but not. They would have lost more if they crashed out and did things wrong. But I told them I constantly encourage them by sending text messages when we're working out. Good job, ladies. We're on our way. We're on our way. This is the beginning of this. We're not there yet. It's going to take months just to get a base down. Same thing when people come and join jiu-jitsu. You're not going to learn it immediately. It's going to take months to get a base down. We have to condition ourselves to start working out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to start breaking the bad habits. And as a personal trainer, I'm not going to tell you not to eat something.
Right.
If you enjoy it, you could still incorporate that into your diet. But it's your lifestyle that you're going to change. You're not going to want to eat pizza, wings, and fucking out trash all night long. But you could still eat that stuff with a better, well-balanced diet.
Yeah, I think
it's hard to tell.
Well,
it's hard to tell people to stop because they're not going to listen to you.
Yeah, because here's the thing that I have to ride on this now, because this is where I found myself with my opinion on this subject matter. I love all that stuff, right? I just had a conversation with my father not too long ago. My father and my brother, they have the genetics of that side of the family. They're like rails.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know what it's like to have carrying around weight. They have no idea what that's like. They could eat whatever, whenever, and you know they've always just somehow their metabolism has always put them in a position. They have their other vices though, both of them, right? And they know that.
Yeah.
And so the thing is my relation. I was just like, so the point was I was having a conversation with my father. My father goes, "Oh, you're never gonna have this."
You told
again?
me that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and that conversation took place on your podcast. So go over there and listen to it.
No, it actually happened in the...
we didn't talk about it on your show?
It actually happened in the break room.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
please, share it a little bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, so that's the
like
thing,
where you're
right?
going with
So my father, we're talking on the phone, and he's like, "Man, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so amazing. I see your pictures and all this stuff." And it's great because I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from all these people who know me, friends, family over the years, blah, blah, blah. My father says, like, you know, hey, at some point, are you going to get back to, like, you know, you're going to reintroduce things, right? And I was like, you know, I don't know. I don't think so. I said, because I haven't felt this good in a long time, and it's not a mirage.
Results are
I've
a big driver.
literally lost 150 pounds at this point. Like, I mean, I feel great. My marriage is better. My work life is better. Like, I'm more focused. I physically am encouraged to go do things. Like, I miss this life, right? Food is no longer, to me, like, for you to be like, man, you're never going to have pizza again. You're never going to have pasta again, right? Like, if you could do that, good, man. Good, right? I'm going to tell you that I know it makes me feel like shit. So, like somebody might say, well, I'm not going to go out boozing because I'm sick of the hangovers. That's the same thing for me. Does the person who says that, are they a huge fan of tequila? They love it. Right?
Yeah.
They love it. And I'm telling you, I love pizza. I love pasta. I love all that stuff that I grew up on. I love it all, right? But for me, when I look at that as like, if you picked up a gas can and you looked in the gas can and it had sediment and shit floating in it, is that the gas that you're going to dump in your car? Mm-hmm. Are you going to fill your gas tank with that? I guess if you told me that you were in the middle of nowhere and that was the only gas that was available and that's what's going to get you to maybe the next gas station, okay.
There's no choice.
I'll buy into it.
Yeah.
Right? But consciously, you have that sitting there, and then right next to it, a pristine jug of gas. There's no sediment. You know it's brand new. It just came from the gas station. That's what you have to pour into your gas tank. What are you going to pour in there? I'm going to pour the clean, absolutely no shit in it. I'm going to put that in there because that's my car will run clean. It's not going to fuck up my engine. Nothing. That's where I'm at.
You gave it enough opportunity and time to see results. That's what kept you on this for so long.
I've
Does
been
that make
through
sense?
I've been through the other shit before,
The
right?
carnivore I'm talking about specifically.
Yeah, but I'm saying in order to have that comprehension, in order to have the patience and the know-how to do what I'm doing now, it was because, one, I've been through the yo-yos. I know so many people who have been, right? And we're all chasing after the instant gratification. So if we don't lose 10 pounds within a week, we go, it's not working. Yep. Fuck this. I'm having my pizza.
Instead of realizing that, my jeans fit a little bit better, but the scale's not saying that.
Here's something to wrap your head around, right? So Brian's heard me tell this story before, but I was talking to somebody at one point, and we were going through some stuff, and he said, he's like, what's one thing that what's one thing that you would really love to accomplish that you just haven't been able to do? Right. And we were going through some things. And one of the things I said is that I've always wanted to learn how to speak Italian. Right. It was just something that I've always wanted to do. I bought these lessons, so on and so forth. But then he's like, well, why? He goes, do you speak Italian? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, why not? Right. And I was like, I don't have time. I don't make the time. Right. And he goes, nah, bullshit. Right. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm busy, right? And he goes, oh, you don't watch TV at all? I was like, well, yeah, we watch TV every once in a while. He goes, all right.
Time, right?
He's like, what do you think? You're going to learn Italian overnight? He goes, let me ask you something. He goes, do you think that somewhere in your week you could find an hour of time? Like, do you have 1 hour per week? And I was like, well, that's ridiculous. Sure, I have 1 hour. He goes, okay. He goes, let me ask you this. How many hours do you think it would take you to learn Italian? Right? He goes, to learn the language to a point to where you can then continue to move on in conversational sake and learn it conversationally. He was like, how long do you think that would take? I said, well, I read somewhere it's about 150 hours, something like that. And he goes, okay. He goes, well, how many weeks in a year? Right? And I was like, well, it's 52. Right? And he goes, okay. He's like, so let's say that you were to take 2 hours per week, and let's say all you did was take 15 minutes per day throughout the week. 15 minutes per day, take a small lesson every day. He goes, as you truck this along, he goes, and you say 150 hours, if you do the math on this, he's like, in about a year and a half, he's like, you should be speaking Italian fluently. He goes, and all you did was take it in small little pieces. He's like, if you're trying to think about sitting down and taking this all in one shot, he goes, and somehow in like a 30-day span, you're going to force feed yourself and you're going to learn Italian, and that's the only time that you have to make for it. He goes, you're never going to accomplish it. He's like, you have to appreciate the long run here. He goes, take it in little increments. He goes, and learn piece by piece over the course of time. He goes, think about where you're at with your career. Think about all the things that you've learned. He goes, did you learn that overnight? I was like, oh, hell no. Obviously, no. He's like, yeah, right. He's like, you just rode this wave. Mm-hmm. He goes, all you got to do is work something else in. So I'm telling you, when I started Carnivore Diet, I started it, and I told my team members here at the office, I said, I'm going to be doing this thing. So the only reason I'm telling you is not to set expectations, because I have no idea how I'm going to do with this. But what I am doing is, I'm asking you to just please support me, because it ain't going to be easy in the beginning.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And I told everybody this is what I'm doing, right? So on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, within 30 days, everybody was like seeing big differences with me. 60 days, 6 months. I didn't care. I didn't weigh myself once. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I knew that just your body, the way your body works, if you just appreciate every day, you're just doing something that's healthy, your body will right itself. That's this beautiful thing that we have is a physical being that figures itself out most of the time. All you got to do is put the right gas in it. You cannot argue, and nobody can argue that the right gas is what your body needs. That is the food that we consume. And if we think rationally in our primal being, we were hunters, right? The cold season came in. As the cold season swooped in most areas anyway, as the cold season swooped in, we had no vegetation. There was nothing. You had to hunt. You would eat off of that. That is what you would eat. Your animals had the ability to store that in mass amounts so that over the winter months, they were able to get through no vegetation. We can't do that. We cannot survive like that. We survive off of animals. That is exactly how we're structured. And so I'm not saying you don't consume any fruit or vegetables. I think you have to try things. For me, the more I've learned about carnivore is that I understand why vegetables don't really work. I love them. I miss them. I understand why they don't work for me. I also understand from a physiological standpoint what they do to your gut and how it confuses your system. So it's like putting dirty gas in there, right? And I know why I'll have some sputter if I put it in there. So I don't do that. Fruit, I understand it. I like fruit. I stick with berries. I avoid whatever gives me any sort of glucose response. I avoid that. It works. I don't know if it would work for everybody. I have no idea. All I know is that I feel like I've attained a life hack.
What works for me might not work for you, but it still fucking works for me.
Yeah, man. And so, the thing here is that I'm glad we were able to have that conversation, and we'll continue to talk about it. I love talking about it now. I want people to see the advantages. I'm sorry. And I think that if you're in a position where you're weight, you have gained all this weight, you're carrying around all this weight, or if you have constant gut issues, or if you can't seem like food just doesn't sit right with you, I like that's where I'm trying to drive the message home that says just change your relationship with food, right? Because I don't look at it anymore like the luxury item. And I love what you're doing, right? I love that you're out there and you're having fun, and you're right. Food is a part of your life in that way. And I love that, right? Just like I love watching somebody go bar to bar and review tequilas, review cigars. I love that. These are products that humans have created, right? And I'm a big fan of that. And whatever the craft is, it's neat that we make shit, right? It's just, what does that shit mean to me, right? I love watching it. I think it's entertaining. I just know that for me, I had to change my relationship with food and respect it as a source of energy and a source of fuel.
And not a playground.
And I can't, unfortunately for me, I cannot, and it's hard to say it, but because it's like an admittance, but I cannot be the foodie that I once claimed to be and live a healthy life. I can't do it.
So what I heard you say was everything was great. But what I really heard you say was, hey, I'm doing this carnivore diet. I wasn't sure about it. I was nervous about it. I don't know if I would like it. I'm going to miss everything I'd like to see. However, I started seeing results.
It wasn't just results.
You started feeling results. I'm talking about
That's it.
That's the result I'm talking about. You started feeling better. It was working. And the only thing you changed was what you ate.
That's it.
So for you to be like, okay, I feel better now, let me go back to how I'm eating, will be crazy because you're just getting started. So I revert that to jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is hard. Okay. People, I joined jiu-jitsu. I broken bones. I broke both my thumbs this year over the course of a year. I broke this thumb and then this thumb. You know what I mean? That sucked.
Yeah.
But I've been training for 7 years. First couple of months were very hard. Newer, carnivore diet, newer, harder. I'm learning about it. I started seeing results. I went from getting armbar all the time to not getting armbarred to armbarring people, right? You see results. The results keep you moving along to keep doing that. And listen, carnivore diet seems extreme to me, okay? It seems like I want to eat pizza. I want to eat, this seems like there could be health. It also doesn't seem crazy because I eat a lot of meat and whatever, right?
Sure.
But people say to me, jiu-jitsu is fucking crazy. I'm like, oh, it's not. It's fucking great. I love it. I don't mind the torture I put to myself. I'm not saying you're torturing yourself, but but I put my body through a lot, put my mind through a lot, but I get results from it. I feel my body might be a little sore from like bumps and bruises. It's not internal. It's just from getting bumps and bruises, but my mind feels great. My heart feels good. My body feels great.
Yeah.
Even though I said it was hurting. Listen, there's tweaks. I'm not playing fucking tennis.
What's interesting though, and I want to interject here real quick because what you're saying means a lot to a lot of people because physical activity is absolutely important in anybody's life, right? The thing that I'm going to say is that sometimes there's a chicken or the egg deal going on there.
Yeah.
And anybody can say to you, hey man, get active, go to the gym, get out walking, do all that, right? But when you're struggling because of the pain, right, all that shit becomes very difficult.
100%.
And so I had to go looking for some kind of holistic solution without getting on some kind of meds, right? I needed a holistic solution to get rid of the pain. And the root of the pain was inflammation. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is I found a way, based on just desperation, I found a way to get myself back to being active without being active. I found myself in a position where all of the good stuff that you're talking about that the physical activity gives you, right? I found a way to get that without physical activity.
Just by moving around more.
Right? No, just by eating.
What I'm saying, exactly.
But then I had the ability, because you don't want to sit still. Right? Then so the chicken or the egg here was eat better, get rid of your inflammation. Your body wants to move. Mm-hmm. And it did. It happened.
I understand.
And your head was on right. And I was like, shit. I went from like 100 yards. I'd be like, sweating my ass off, to walking miles and like exploring. My wife and I were in a city not too long ago, 7 miles or something like that. We walked around.
That's fantastic.
I didn't even think about it. Yeah. I was like, this is craziness. Like,
you went from that moment you hit rock bottom where you had to park that truck far away from the restaurant.
Yeah.
To barely stopping.
It's insane, man.
I just gotta walk around now.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's why like I wanted to talk with you about that, because I know like there is perspective there, and I think other people say, to your point, they go, that's a bit extreme. I don't think that I could do that. Here's the thing. I don't think I couldn't have done it. And maybe you're not in that position, and I get it, right? Maybe you're not. Maybe you live an active life and you can have that relationship with food where all that is good, right? I've come to understand that food has other problems. It's not just about carrying weight. It could be gut issues. It could be sleep deprivation. There's a number of things that could be caused.
If you literally believe that the food you're eating is making you sick, you would be insane to keep eating it. Right.
And so, it's not that I'm like brainwashed or somebody.
I don't think that at all.
Some people have said that to me. I don't think that at all. They'll be like, dude, I think you watch too many YouTube videos.
No, fuck all that. Well, YouTube's very educational. I hate when people say that. I hate when people tell me that just because I don't watch mainstream media, ABC, Fox, all that bullshit. Yeah. I watch independent news stations on YouTube, and they all reporting the real same story.
Yeah.
People don't believe that shit. They want to believe the bullshit that we listen to on the mainstream. there's a lot of people on YouTube that want to tell the truth. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
And I don't think Carnivore Diet, you're brainwashed for this or brainwashed for that. If you're a vegetarian, you're brainwashed. If you're a vegan, you're doing harm to your body. We'll get that. Could be a whole other conversation.
It's true.
And there's scientific proof backing that
Absolutely.
up. And I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right. But with Carnivore Diet, it's just, it's just hard because I'm a pasta and pizza guy.
I know, man.
So if the doctor told me maybe you should try carnivore, your life's in danger, I'd be on board with that. I'd be on board with that, and that's where you were at.
That is where I was at.
That's where you're at. You needed the solution that was practical for you. I never thought that for a moment. I say extreme to bust balls because I like to eat some pizza. I also think that, but I don't know that because I'm not a nutritionist or a scientist or like that.
Yeah.
You still might be able to eat pizza and pasta once in a while, but that can send you back to eating it all the time.
Yeah.
Open up that wormhole again.
And that's the thing. Like,
I get that too.
Because once you understand what that food does to you, not only physically, but mentally.
It unleashes that little bit of,
The carbohydrates, when you consume them in that way, and sugars, it literally, you want more.
Oh, 100%. I'll never fucking deny that.
I don't want a food that's going to make me want more so that I overeat.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Because I'm not a guy who sits easy on feeling hungry.
Yeah, you got to a point in your life, you're like, it was either making a change or you were going to die.
Basically,
I was there too.
Yeah.
It was either I needed to get sober, or I was going to die. There was only two options I had in my life.
Well, we're both fighting our fight, man.
We're fighting and we're going to keep,
Yeah.
now we're fighting together.
That's it, buddy.
Brian's not falling asleep over there yet. He's doing good.
I thought this was I thought this was great. I thought out of this episode, man, I learned a lot about you that we didn't even have the chance to talk about. So I'm glad that we didn't, because it gave me opportunity to learn more about you here.
Me too.
But I'm really pleased. I thought this was a great conversation. I hope our audience enjoys it.
Me too. I really do. This is my third podcast of the day.
You're a beast.
I don't mind it at all. Man. It was good to go, man. I have some breaks in between.
Typical day here at ConversionWorx.
Well, there was some sunlight outside today.
Yeah.
It got me energized.
Yeah.
I felt like the guy in the villain in Superman 3.
Good stuff.
You know what I mean?
Getting fueled up with the vitamin D.
Yep. Vitamin D. We had some pizza in the house. We had some meat in the house. We had some dill fudge. Which thank God you're on the Carnivore Diet because you don't want to taste it.
I don't want any of that. Tell who do we have coming up? What upcoming episodes do we have?
We have coming up. When's this one coming up?
So this will air right after, like within the week after we air our episode.
Oh, okay. So we got
that. This is a follow up to that.
We got you coming out, Frank, next week. Well, people listen to that one already. Then we have Albert Martino from Northeast PA, northeastsnacks.com. It's a tongue twister for me.
Okay.
So he ships chips all over the country. Great guy locally, does potato chip contest. Really great guy. Then we got Jim Mariabelli from NEPA Pizza Review. You listen to round 2 with us as well. And then I have coming in the studio next week is John DeBone from Pazzo.
Nice.
He's gonna be a good guest. He's an interesting character.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 guests that I'm flirting with as far as dates go. So
we got to get Chef Vaughn on there.
Yeah, we got to get Chef Vaughn up there. So then I'm going to start scheduling people up for May.
Where can everybody find you?
Look for me you can follow me on social media for my food page, DiMattia's Food Fight. That's DiMattia''S Food Fight on Facebook and TikTok. It's on Instagram as well. Instagram is a fickle platform for my food page, so I still post on there, but I'm mostly on Facebook and TikTok. And then you can listen to the Food Fight podcast on Apple, Spotify, and watch it on the YouTube channel, Food Fight Productions.
You just opened up the door for sponsor possibilities, all that too. So if somebody's listening, because we have a lot of small business listeners.
Please, if you think that your product, your service, whatever it may be, is good for my listeners. My listeners are probably a lot of restaurant industry workers. So think about all
people who love food.
People who love food, industry workers. So just in general, the platform of the Food Fight podcast could be a launching for your business to advertise on.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get some great deals going on, move forward. And I want to help you. I want you guys to help me grow. as I help you guys grow, or vice versa, however you want to call that. I think it'll be a great partnership. My social media page does, like about 1 million views a month, give or take the food page. You might not notice that from no 11,000 followers, but heavy traffic on that page. And that could be yours, your ads. I have no problem placing your product. If it makes sense and it's a good product and you're good people, you'll be advertised across all the platforms that I have.
Awesome.
It's just more and more ways for you to get your name out there, and we could be partners together. And plus we're lined up with ConversionWorx now too.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So it's not just a food fight punch. We got the 1-2 punch now.
Yeah.
You know
and if you have, I think, what's interesting is, and I could say this because of our relationship and our partnership on this, is that if somebody is interested in sponsorship, maybe you have a creative idea on something you want to do.
Yeah.
Hit us up with that, because no idea is a dumb idea. Maybe there's something that you have creative, you're sitting on, and you'd be like, this would be a great way for me to sponsor, but I think it would be if we did this, this, and this. Yeah, man, we're up for it. Let's talk about it.
A lot of opportunities. You want to put your product on my table? We'll find the spot for it. You know what I mean? There's great opportunities for everybody, and I want everybody to be involved with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brian, awesome.
Thank you for having me on
Good
the
episode.
570.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad. Thank you for having me on yours. And if you're seeing this, right, I hope that you've gone back and listened to the other episode or watched the other episode. You're on YouTube. You're on all the social platforms. You're on all the everywhere podcasts are available, right?
I'll tell you right now, after this episode, I have to get my ass together and get some on Apple and Spotify right now specifically. But
Okay.
I need to open up the door to the other ones, right,
Yeah,
Brian?
we're gonna get you all over.
Yeah. Wake me up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm in that old school that only Apple and Spotify exist.
We're gonna get that.
You know what
changed.
blows my mind is that people have Apple phones, but they use Spotify. Doesn't make any sense to me. Apple Music is the best.
Well,
Think about that real fast. Think about that. $10 for all the music in the world.
Yeah,
It's fucking amazing.
I hear you.
Amazing. Yeah.
I hear you.
It's great.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it.
Talk all day.
There's another episode in the
Woo,
books. This
shit.
one was a little bit longer, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would love your feedback in respect of this being on video. Do you want to see us do more of these? This is our second video episode. We're not going to do it all the time. A lot of our guests prefer just to be on audio. So for certain episodes, this is definitely something we want to be doing more of, but we'd love your feedback. Make sure you comment. Go over and follow Brian.
I'm camera shy.
Yeah.
It took a lot to get me on here.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing in closing real fast. Anybody that needs help and anything that you're going through, ask for help. Ask a loved one. Ask a friend. Fucking send me a message. Send Frank a message.
Yeah.
There's help out there. I'm willing to whatever I possibly can. Whatever I possibly can. You have to ask for help. That's where it starts. Admitting you have a problem, that's where it starts. You have to admit that, and you have to want to get better.
That's it.
I'm done. That's it.
I love it.
Yeah.
It was a great way to close it out. To all of our listeners, viewers, we always say like, share, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Just the most important thing you can do is just keep tuning in, because that's why we keep doing this. We'll catch you on the next episode.